What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the ASL. It's time for our second match in the round of 4. Snow versus Soulkey. It's about to kick off, guys. Welcome to the show. We had an awesome day of StarCraft yesterday. Best versus Light was an absolute banger, and this could be just as good.
Oh yeah, yesterday was just history in the making, say, and I'm sure there was so many people going absolutely nuts. I know I was. I've never felt that emotional and excited after a series of StarCraft in a very long time. And who knows, it could happen yet again here today. Snow might be able to surprise us all by somehow dispatching the champion in this best of 7 series. It has to be said though, this is a little bit of a rematch last season. There was a bit of an unfortunate situation where Snow lost 4-0 in the exact same spot in the tournament in that semi-finals. So I'm just hoping it's not going to be a repeat of that performance and we at least see some wins under Snow's belt here today.
I am such a big fan of this guy. He is so much fun to watch. His stream is amazing. He's been such a character in the scene. Snow here on screen. Made it through, like we said, into the round of 4 last season, so he was seeded. Made it out of his group and is right back where he was last season. Man, what a unfortunate circumstance to hit this guy again in the round of 4, but here we go, guys. It's time for that rematch. I'm a little sad we don't have Blitz Y in the map pool. I wanted to see Snow get some closure on that map.
Yeah, maybe that would have been pretty cool. It is a very nice map. I guess the closest thing we've got to it right now is Death Valley, how the map is kind of divided into two, similarly to Blitz Y and Blitz X, where, you know, the right side of the map was this lane with an island and the rest of the map was much more open. So we kind of have something similar in Death Valley to work with. Maybe you can find redemption on that set at least. It's going to be crazy, though. Statistically speaking, Snow's won roughly 40-45% of games against Soulkey, you know, in all years combined, but that's not really how you analyze statistics. You have to look a bit more in depth and look at actual longer series. For example, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, Snow was able to beat Soulkey in a longer series, like a best of 7 or a best of 9. So it's been a very long time coming since he was able to deal with him. He can take him down on individual games, like in the KCM or in like a best of 3. Sometimes he can get the better of him. When it comes to these really longer offline events, it's a totally different ball game. And I have put Snow's chances here today at somewhere between 20 and 25%. Depends on how well he's playing on the day. Anything can happen, but it is going to be a big hurdle for him to overcome.
I would say pretty much anyone betting against Soulkey here is insane. My money is for sure on Soulkey, as I'm sure most of the audience is going to be, but my heart is with Snow, man. I really want to see him make this upset happen. I think anyone would be crazy to put their money on Snow here. It's just, he's done over and over again mad things to Snow over the past few years. Soulkey, look at this, 71% of people think. That's about where I was putting it, 30 to 40%. Looks like the crowd agrees with me.
Yeah, and also the pro gamers agree as well. The graphic before that was what the pro gamers were predicting that series. 8 of them calculated a Soulkey victory, and 4 thought that Snow could take it. That is pretty relatively respective of what we feel here in the casting booth as well. We'll have to see if Snow can surprise us all today and bring us some great games. Anything is possible. Maybe he's got something special planned for Soulkey, some timing attacks that he won't be able to hold, and he can maybe, you know, find the cracks in Soulkey's armor and start to tilt him a little bit and get frustrated. And anything is possible.
Anything is possible, man. This is the ASL. We're here in the Thunderdome, the biggest event of Brood War in 2025. It's better than ever. It's been more exciting than ever before. Yep. This is peak StarCraft, guys. This is what we're here for.
I just can't believe it's almost been 30 years since this game is out and it's still going as strong as it is. It's like a new golden age of StarCraft has been ushered in, and people realize that the grandfather of esports is not to be taken lightly, and rightfully so, saying this is the hardest game that's ever been conceived. Nothing comes close. There's far too much monetization and emphasis on style over substance in modern gaming. There's nothing that can even begin to compete with the competitiveness of StarCraft Brood War.
I absolutely agree. This game has such a deep, rich history, and the strategies and the legacy of this game is kind of unbeatable. And it's just going to continue on. Nothing's going to end up being having a longer history than this game, because this game will never die.
Oh, I don't think so. It's going to be like Tetris or something. It doesn't matter if it doesn't look good. It's going to be one of the better gameplay games we have available to us for many years to come, either when people are locked into their VR headsets playing some kind of weird immersive game to replicate their actual lives. I mean, even then, I think there'll be some people coming back to these roots where it all started, where competitive gaming was birthed. Saying we wouldn't even have esports if it wasn't for this beautiful, monstrous game, and I'm all about it. I'm here to stay.
We've got our players here on the stage now. It's one of the beautiful parts about ASL, the beautiful part and also the most difficult part aspect of the ASL. These guys have to come into the studio, be under all these hot lights and on camera while performing these feats in StarCraft Brood War. It's incredible that they're really able to play at this high level with all the pressure that's going on in the studio. And now they're going in, having a bit of a laugh here before the matches. I do love how the announcers here, tell some jokes and get them to crack some smiles, loosen them up, because there's so much stress on these guys.
Yeah. It's good to loosen them up before they get into the booth. And they do need to keep their composure. Even the champion Soulkey here, he's going to have some difficulty not letting anything that Snow does get under his skin. There might be some crazy timings that he gets hit with. And even a caliber of player such as himself will need to do his absolute best to stay chill. We saw in that last series between Best versus Light. Light is an absolute terminator in terms of how he's able to have laser focus and never get shaken. But you saw Best make him tilt completely over to the side. I mean, like literally physically tilting by every definition of the word. And you can't really do that so easily in this event. But if any event can make you kind of be shaken to the core, it's definitely the ASL. It's just nothing that even compares to it. It's one thing playing out of your mind in some of these online tournaments, showing up today in front of the crowd, all the cameras, the lights, the glamour. It's kind of hard not to be fazed by that.
Absolutely. Snow here, he's had a year to analyze those games he played in the last round of 4. Last season was a bit embarrassed there. 4-0 for Soulkey. He's gone back over all of his plans. He's gone through his gameplay. What has he learned in this past year? How has he developed his style? And will he be able to take a few games off of Soulkey? Will he be able to win this series? It's a small chance, but we're going to have to see what level Snow has progressed towards.
I mean, to be fair of you saying, I'm kind of hoping for it. I don't necessarily mind if it's Snow or Best, but I do want one of these guys to dismantle this champion. He's been a consecutive 3-time champion now, and Protoss has not had a Bonjour or a champion for way too long. It's about time. And if Snow can't do it, I hope Best can. So despite me being a Zerg player and a really big Soulkey fan, I do deep down really want Snow to somehow surprise us today and win this. So I will be kind of rooting for him.
I'm in the same boat as you, Xun. I love Snow so much. I really want to see him do well. But my bets are placed on Soulkey. This guy is so incredibly strong. He looked completely unbeatable when he went up against Soulkey, or went up against Snow last year. This year, we haven't seen him versus a Protoss opponent
Right.
in the ASL. So I'm very curious to see what type of style he's going to show. He's been able to hide all of his strategies. He's in the best possible position to take on Snow here.
Yeah, both players now entering the booth, starting to get ready, making sure that the universe is aligned to their mice and keyboards, and hopefully that nothing gets under their skin in terms of their peripherals interfering. We did have some issues with Jaedong's headset on that booth to the left. Hopefully there's not going to be anything today that disrupts the show, because these guys need to be locked in. Nothing can disrupt their concentration. We're about to see some of the highest level Protoss versus Zerg of the entire event, Sam.
That is a fact, Xun. We're getting some replays here, and while we're getting ready for this first game, I want to remind everybody there is a couple of ASL jackets that are up for grabs. They are being a part of this giveaway that Soup is putting on. You guys could get your hands on one of those. All you have to do to enter is donate a subscription to the SCTV channel or gift 50 gems. And you can do so as many times as you like. As many entries as you want gives you more chances to win those jackets. So, chance to own a part of history. Xun, I wish I could participate in that. I would love to hang that on my wall, but you guys are going to get that opportunity here.
I'm getting chills just even thinking about the lucky guy or gal who's going to be getting one or two of those jackets. It's absolutely insane that you guys have that opportunity. It's not been able to be done in such a long time since like the Kesper era. We haven't really been able to get our hands on that kind of official merch. Would be kind of nuts for one of you guys to get that. If you do, I would love if you could throw us a picture of you guys wearing it or hang it up on the wall. It is such a collector's item as well. Like seriously, even if you weren't a StarCraft fan, that's a collector's item that will, appreciate in value, and some guy is going to buy that off of you in the future for $10,000 or something. Like, I can't even there's no way of understating that. Like, it's crazy how much value that jacket has. You definitely should try and win that, guys.
I don't know about that, Xun. Maybe there's going to be a market for that in the future. I mean, if ASL keeps going, we end up in ASL 30, ASL 40. That might be the case. Here in ASL 19, the first opportunity to win one of those jackets. It's live right now, and it's going to be live until the 25th. And that is the day of the finals, guys. The 25th at 2 p.m. Korean Standard Time will be the finals. Best versus who? We're about to find out if it's going to be Soulkey or Snow. I'm super excited for this first match, guys. We are going to get into it here shortly. This first map, it's going to be Metropolis. That should be a lot of fun.
I think that's the new Logitech Super Pro Lite, G Pro X Super Lite 2. I've got the original G Pro X Super Lite. They're the best mice you can play StarCraft on, guys. They are the only wireless mice that actually work properly, and you can whip that around on your mouse mat so efficiently. It feels so good to play on. If you guys have never had the pleasure of using a mouse like that, I really do recommend it. Once again, it's the G Pro X Super Lite. They're so good.
I have a Logitech myself, but I don't really use many. I haven't gotten in the habit of using a wireless mouse. I found that sometimes they do disconnect, and so that sounds great. A mouse that works
Not this one,
properly.
It's perfect. Perfect.
Really cool that they are going to sponsor this tournament. We've had some great sponsors over the years. Hot 6 has been a long-time sponsor, but Logitech jumping in as well. Guys, this is not going away anytime soon when we've got big sponsors like that coming in.
Oh, yeah, and rightfully so, because that mouse is what a lot of the pro gamers actually use. It's that good, and you guys shouldn't sleep on that if you haven't had the pleasure. I think they are quite expensive. I was fortunate enough to have a Korean actually send me one. I just paid for the postage and packaging, but I was really happy that one of my friends could actually just send me one of those mice to try out. They were sold out in pretty much just about anywhere back in the day, couple of years ago. I'm sure now you'll probably be able to get your hands on one, so be on the lookout for those. They are so good, but look at the recent history between these guys in the ASL. That's why I'm saying there's only like a 20-25% chance here for our boy Snow. It's not like he can't do it, it's just that he's not been able to overcome that hurdle in many times in these previous ASLs here. These are all previous ASL seasons, season 18, 17, 15, 11, 10, and 7. So yeah, you can see just how much of a brutal run there's been. Always Soulkey coming out on top, and especially in these longer series, Soulkey's beating him like 4-2 in season 17 and 4-0 in the most recent season 18.
Snow's come a long way over these past seasons, though, in his PvZ matchup. We've seen him make great strides. It's not really representative, his current win percentage in the PvZ matchup. He's done so much better over these past few years, and so I'm really eager to see what he can do against Soulkey. I'm sure that he is concerned here. I'm sure he's worried about another embarrassing 4-0, but if he can put up a great fight game number 1, if he can get a win game number 1, that's going to give him a lot of momentum and help him to kind of believe in himself here, because I think he can do it. It's just, it's such a hard hill to climb, dude. Soulkey is such a beast.
Oh, you're not wrong, saying. I mean, Snow has picked Metropolis for this map number 1, so he is getting the first pick and is going to be the one trying to take the driver's seat. If he can get that game number 1 victory, it's going to be a big deal for him to get his mojo going and feel confident with the rest of the series. At the very least, he'd be avoiding that 4-0 sweep, and that might be enough to settle his nerves and allow him to play at the best of his ability. I still believe in this guy. I don't think this is going to be a 4-0 sweep. I think Snow is going to surprise us at least a little bit today and take the fight to Soulkey.
Oh, I really hope so, Xun. I want to see Snow win a ASL at some point. This guy absolutely deserves it. It's just matching up with Soulkey over and over again. It's kind of like, you know, Jaedong and Flash in the Kespa era, right? Like, if not for Flash, Jaedong would have had all of those titles, right? He just keeps on getting beaten down again and again by that extremely strong and dominant player. He's got to overcome this guy if he wants to ever get one of those titles.
Absolutely, Sam. It's probably one of the biggest grudge matches that isn't evenly matched that we could possibly have. Like, it's really that crazy. Some of these guys in the ASL have actually been able to avoid each other over the years. They've rarely had to fight head on head. But these guys, for whatever reason, the stars have aligned for them to keep clashing. And Soulkey has just been beating Snow down, not allowing him to get through and actually get a championship title under his belt. Who knows, though? That might all be changing. We've had crazier things happen this season at ASL. I'm already going crazy just over the fact that Best has been able to make it into the finals. So no matter what happens, we might be having a Protoss champion still, regardless of Snow can do it today or not.
We had that beautiful match between Best and Queen. Such a hype round of 8 match. That PvZ was absolutely spectacular. I'm hoping for another series like that, regardless of who wins here, guys. We're just cheering for a great match between these two. And of course, a great match in the finals. Even if it's PvP, I'm still going to be happy.
Absolutely. I just want to see an upset here and the champion dismantled. I mean, it would be kind of cool for him to get 4 in a row and we can start calling him the Bonjour, because that would be an insane period of dominance. And it's not like he was able to avoid Zerg versus Zerg completely. He did take down a hero in the finals in a close series. So he has been able to express himself in that mirror matchup as well to achieve one of these titles. The only thing can happen. I mean, this season has been really special and it's kind of like completely disrupted the flow of the usual StarCraft pattern. And I think that we might be seeing a little bit more history being written here today or maybe in that finals. And I think at least Snow will get some wins on the board at the bare minimum.
I hope you're right, Xun. Metropolis, Eclipse, Dominator, Death Valley, Deja Vu, Polestar, and we're going to end off on a Radeon. If we make it that far, that would be insane, epic. Some of those games, even though it was a 4-0 last season, some of those games were great between these two. So I'm looking forward to this. Cannot wait to get started. Our players are just about ready here, guys.
Oh my gosh, Saiyan. I don't even know what to expect. I do think Soulkey's chances are going to be high. We'll have to wait and see if he can, meet expectations and take down Snow here. Snow might be ready to upset those expectations, though. As long as he can remain calm like a cucumber under that pressure. Both players now in the lobby. We're about to get started here in just a second.
Snow here, preparing himself mentally. Gonna have to be really on the ball with picking up on what Soulkey is going for, whether or not he's going to be Hydralisk busting. We've seen so many slick Hydralisk busts and different busts from Soulkey to end these games early against Protoss. He is so good at masking what he's doing, hiding his build, and coming up with some really out of left field ideas in basically every matchup, right? I feel like ZVZ is his least favorite matchup because it's the one he's least able to express himself in. PVZ or ZVP and ZVT, he really shows his style. And we're going to get into it, guys.
ASL Season 19, Round of 4. Soulkey versus Snow. First map, Metropolis. Let's get it on, guys.
Snow in the top right. Soulkey bottom right. Here on Metropolis, game number 1. Time to set the pace. How will Snow open, and will he be able to take a first win, break the cycle, and prevent another 4-0? Definitely. I'm hoping that he manages to take at least one of these games. This first game is going to be insanely critical, guys. This is going to be so important here.
Yeah, I just want to quickly correct something. The Liquipedia was actually incorrect. It was Soulkey that picked Metropolis for map number 1, so I do apologize, guys. The ASL graphic confirms that that's not going to be the case. It's the other way around. Soulkey's picking the first map, so Snow probably wants to do something to disrupt whatever game plan Soulkey has for this map. You can do slow circling drops into the main base and all kinds of shenanigans on this map, so we'll have to see exactly what both players have got in store for us. But guess what? Snow is pylon scouting and he's going the correct directions. That's a big win right off the bat.
He's gonna see this overpool on the way from Soulkey. This map, a little difficult to defend that third base in this position. If you're gonna be taking the third over at the 6 o'clock, it is kind of far from the natural here for Soulkey. He's probably gonna have to send that first drone over to his third base unless he can get this one down. Looks like he won't be able to. And he's gonna come down here.
I'm kind of getting some chills already because Snow just delayed Soulkey's mining quite significantly in the main base, like mining the patch with the probe and then constantly spamming stop and choosing the patch which the drones are trying to align to mine. He's disrupted so much mining of Soulkey already. You can see how these drones have to keep realigning to new patches, and every little helps in this situation. So he's slowing down the optimizations of Soulkey and already trying to get under his skin. Look how active he's being in controlling this probe. You don't usually see this much attention to detail. Finally lets that probe finish its cycle and grab a mineral chunk, but that was a lot of harassment for a scouting probe, say it.
Taking a look at Snow's setup back at home, he's adding the cannon over the forge here, and so he'll have a very strong position to try and keep his upgrade alive. If there were some sort of Hydralisk bust here in the early game, the gateway's going to go over that forge, and it will be quite exposed, but that forge is really far tucked back. It's going to be very difficult to do some sort of Hydralisk timing, fake Hydralisk bust where you just killed the upgrade. in the situation like this. The cannon is already done. Probes have been pulled. He really doesn't want to allow a couple of lings to get into his base, and Soulkey sees that respect, and he's going to send his lings back home to deal with the probe that's continuing to run around in his base. This is some excellent play from Snow to open.
Yeah, even Snow attacking his own forge with the probe to make sure that the lings couldn't just, take one swipe at it and make it run away automatically, kind of allowing him to hold position the probe despite a Zealot not being finished up yet. Snow doing everything to make sure there's no upset that's going to be transpiring in that very early game phase of Soulkey slipping in some Zerglings and causing a lot of a nightmare in the main base of the Protoss. Is going to be getting this lair online. I'm not sure if Snow actually spotted that. He did try and dip in there with the probe. I'm hoping he got a glimpse at that just barely. Soulkey trying to get us around on this probe and deny scouting. I think that maybe Snow just barely saw it, but it was very close.
Got the probe looping back around. Going to continue to try and get this scouting information. He sent a Zealot way out to the left-hand side there. I believe he managed to skirt the vision of the Overlord. Get this Zealot out into an awkward position where maybe he can slide in, start to deal some damage to these drones. Even just forcing the drones to stop mining for a moment is going to be strong. And it looks like Soulkey actually going to put his lings right up on this ramp. He's actually preempting this very well. He's got 3 lings at his main ramp, and he's got 3 lings over at his third ramp. Oh, these 2 Zealots making their way forward. He's definitely going to be able to get scouting information with this.
Yeah, 2 punches for free on those lings as well. Soulkey has to pull back those lings from the third base location. It's a shame there's not a third Zealot that can run into that third base right now. But it doesn't matter. These 2 Zealots might still a bit annoying. Going to confirm the Spire timing. Maybe get some lost mining time or kill a drone, but not quite. Does manage to kill the Zergling to prevent the surround. So he will get tucked behind these minerals and get some good 2-on-1 trades versus those Zerglings. So far, so good for Snow. He's being pretty productive. And now got this third Zealot coming into the natural expansion. There's no Zerglings here currently, so we'll be forcing a drone pull. Can't quite get a kill on one of those drones, but it doesn't matter. Any lost timing is a pretty big deal right now. There's even a 4th Zealot now making its way downtown to that 6 o'clock third base position. While Soulkey's distracted doing cleanup on R5 on these initial Zealots, there's another one that's about to hit, but I think he's ready with some Zerglings that have just popped out.
Snow's doing a fantastic job, and Soulkey faltering just slightly. He missed an Overlord. He was a bit supply blocked there as the first 2 Zealots came in. Had 3 Larva sitting and waiting for a long time there. He's going to try to hold back this Zealot with just some drone micro as he's going across the map with these lings. Is there anything in that wall? Snow really needs to be careful. Make sure that he can block this. Oh, the lings are going to get by. He's going to jump right on top of that cannon. The cannon's going to go down so quickly. Good block here with the probes, but the lings do manage to get into the main. 4 or 5 lings get into the main, and that's disaster here for Snow.
Yeah, that was a pretty good attempt to block with the probes there. Did do a good job initially. 4 lings do make it into the main base. Has got some Zealots to start cleaning those up. As long as he doesn't lose any more probes, that's not going to be too bad. Snow just trying to stabilize right now, sending the probes back to mine. Lings, though, going to be trying to dive on these 1 cannons. 1 cannon does go down. He did not get the cancel on that. Tries to probe drill onto those Zerglings. There's some Mutalisks out on the way. Soulkey wants to try and deny these cannons from going up so these Mutalisks can have free reign. There are Corsairs starting to pull. Please be careful. Here come the Scourge trying to make those connections. He targets down the cannon while connecting with one of those Corsairs to take them out with that first pair of Scourge. Snow in a lot of trouble here. He's having a hard time establishing control over his natural expansion. Cannon is about to warp in, but that will probably go down with some good target fire just barely to these 3 Mutalisks.
Oh, he's trying to bring the Corsair up here. He really wants to get some damage on those Mutas and save this natural, but he's losing control here. Allowed those Scourge to land on his Corsairs initially, and now he's paying the price for it. These Scourge here controlled very, very well, keeping Snow out of his natural, not allowing these cannons to go up. Another Corsair coming forward, and Dragoon pops out as well. It's going to run back here, but it's so low on health. It looks like it's just going to be sniped here by the few Mutas that Soulkey's been able to put together. He's just barely breaking Snow right now. It's so darn close. Oh, these Scourge are just not quite connecting. There it is. He does get the connections on those, and Snow is losing that natural completely. Oh my goodness, it's so savage. Soulkey was getting pulled apart in this early game, and he puts together an excellent bust timing, gets through, kills the last Corsair, and this shield battery is not long for this world either. Look at how few drones there are back at home. There's almost no economy, but there's no comeback here for Snow if he loses his natural, and GG is called. There it is, boys. Soulkey takes game number 1. Wow, what a game.
I mean, that was super all-in from Soulkey. He had to win with that attack, or Snow probably would have not only stabilized, but came back in the mid-game to stomp out Soulkey after the fact. He had such a high probe saturation relative to Soulkey, and no macro hatcheries for Soulkey to really transition off. He just had to bust through right at that moment and isolate Snow from being able to set up those cannons like he should have done. I mean, this is a kind of crazy game. We're taking a quick look at the replay now. This Zealot got so much lost mining time over at the third base, but the real critical moment here was there's no probes in the wall to block this run by. He was waiting for these Zealots to finish up, and they couldn't quite get into the nooks and crannies of that Sim City fast enough. Gets the surround on that first cannon, which is so important because now there's not going to be 2 finished cannons in that natural expansion to defend against the Ogre's gamer mode of Soulkey. Soulkey isolated that win condition after killing that cannon and went into the main base with these additional 4 Zerglings to slow down the cannon timings there as well. He got a snipe on the second cannon that was going up in the main, so there wasn't able to be a significant defense set up by Snow. As a result, he's in pure disarray at this point in the game because he can't stabilize against the incoming Mutalisk and Scourge.
Yeah, that run by there didn't seem like a lot. The 4 Lings making their way into the main, but they managed to delay the 1 cannon. They took away some attention from Snow for a moment, and he didn't pick up on the fact that this was coming. He had the extra cannon added, but it was a little bit too late. His Corsairs go down there. He had 3 altogether. 2 went down immediately, and that last one just not able to stand, not able to fight. Oh, it's so close, Xun. It was so damn close. If he just gets one of those mutas, it makes it so much easier for him to finish this, to get another cannon done. But he's just not able to get one going here, and it's over. Game number 1 goes to Soulkey, and dude, I hate to say it, but history might be repeating itself.
I mean, it certainly could be saying, I hope not. That was Soulkey's map pick, so maybe something different could happen in the one that Snow's decided to go for in game number 2, which I believe is going to be Eclipse. Well, I mean, I hope it doesn't. I hope it's not going to be a 4-0 situation yet again. I do want to see some wins on the board for Snow. One thing I would like to point out is despite Soulkey winning in that fashion, it wasn't as one-sided as it could have been. Like, Snow showed some promise in that game. He just needs to not make any slip-ups in his defense. If he had just had, like, say, a couple of probes in that wall while waiting for those Zealots to finish up, that game would have looked totally different, and Soulkey's effort of trying to get that massive Ling run by would have kind of fallen flat on its face a bit more. And with that additional cannon set up in the natural expansion, he couldn't just come in there with his Muta Scourge and punish Snow in quite that fashion.
Oh, for sure. Snow was doing fantastic there in the early game. Guys, I'm going to pull up the soup chat. You guys can say hello to YouTube. We're going to take a short break here. We'll be right back, guys. 4 minutes. We'll be jumping straight on into game number 2. All right, guys, we are back. Game number 2 is about to start. It's been a little rough here for Snow so far. Really did feel like he had the momentum in that early game. Was doing some great things with his probe. His Zealot micro is fantastic. Getting some really good trades, and Soulkey's starting to fall apart just a little bit, but immediately turns the pressure around and breaks open Snow. Impressive stuff from both players. Impressive stuff from both sides. If Snow holds that attack, guys, he wins that game. He would have been able to take him down.
Here we go, guys. ASL Season 19, Round of 4. Soulkey versus Snow and the map, Eclipse. Let's get it on.
Snow down here, bottom left. Soulkey in the top right. Cross map. Of course, it is Eclipse. This is a pretty crazy map. Can result in some epic PvZ. It's one of the maps that's been around the longest in the ASL, Xun.
Yeah, it has. It's kind of survived the test of time. Like, really kind of interesting that we've had this map around for such a while. Have to see if it remains just one more season or whether or not this will be its last ever showing in the tournament. One thing I want to point out, guys, is that Soulkey was breathing pretty heavily at the start of this game, almost like he was a little bit unnerved by game number 1 with how well Snow was able to disrupt him by denying any mining of those patches at the top 2 blocks. Not only that, but also the Zealot harass pulling him apart a little bit. He was very desperate to close out that game with that bust, maybe feeling a little bit unsettled as this champion.
Yeah, we'll see if Snow can put on the same level of pressure here again, or if Soulkey will tighten things up and overcome those early Zealot plays. Soulkey going to send his first drone directly to the third, expecting a block. But Snow is going to instead be focused on his economy this time. Going for the scout after Forge. We'll get him a slightly faster Nexus. Won't allow him to do as much harassment, though, in this early game.
Yeah, right, exactly that. It's going to try and hide this scouting probe from the Overlord. I think the Overlord just barely sees it, though. And yeah, Snow pulling up his sleeves ever so slightly to increase his micro capability, as well as thermal regulation, making sure he doesn't get too hot in the booth with just how much these guys are playing out of their minds. It's easy to overheat. Maybe that's one of the reasons why Soulkey's taking a few extra breaths at the start of this game, making sure as much oxygen is getting through to his brain and muscles as needed here. Got a drone that's interestingly enough coming down to the bottom to scout, to make sure there's nothing hidden from Snow down here on this bottom lane, and coming back to begin harassing this scouting probe. Maybe Soulkey's a little bit worried that there was a sneaky Zealot coming from this bottom lane early game.
This is pretty cool, actually. I like what Soulkey's done here. A 12 hatch taken at the third base, and then right into pool gas immediately after. It's kind of like a modified versus Terran build. What he's done here is going to have a lot of gas to work with very early on. Third hatch will be slightly delayed, but he can do a lot with this. We'll see where he spends his first 100 gas.
He hasn't yet spent it, actually. It's kind of interesting. He's going to throw down the hatchery before spending the gas. Very interesting play here from Soulkey. Maybe making Snow think this could be a 2-hatch muta play initially, but then is actually going to kind of make adjustments and go into a bit more of a standard game. He still hasn't spent any gas. Like, he hasn't taken Ling Speed or Lair yet. He's just going to be optimizing. What is he going to do? Okay, I think he just started to Lair at his third base. Yeah, okay.
Gonna get the lair a bit later than he could have taken that, and he's gonna leave one drone on gas. Snow probably a bit confused, trying to keep this probe alive in the main, desperately wants to know what the heck's going on. I think just seeing that the Ling speed's not gonna be there is gonna give him a pretty big tip off to what's going on. Like, clearly he's not going for like a super quick Ling bust or something like that if he still doesn't have Ling speed just yet.
Well, he just now took Ling speed a few seconds ago, so he will have Ling speed, just nowhere near early enough to do some kind of crazy early game run by. Oh, the probe does slip up into that third base and confirm the lair. It's a shame that Soulkey couldn't deny him scouting that. That would have really confused Snow if he couldn't identify this lair. He would not necessarily know what's happening and might think this is going to be a fast Ling speed build if he did manage to kill this scouting probe right away. So far, doing a pretty good job of keeping that scout alive. We've got a Stargate, a pretty early Stargate actually, by the way, saying that's coming up here from Snow. So he wants to really confirm what is going on. And I mean, since Soulkey didn't rush into that 2-hatcher lair like he could have done, that means this Corsair might get at least 1 or 2 Overlord kills.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very fast Stargate. In fact, everything's kind of sped up here for Snow for a very strong macro opener with that scout after Forge and a quick Nexus thereafter. So he's going to be able to get this Corsair across the map, get that scouting information, and possibly get a couple of Overlord kills as well. Looks like another good position here for Snow in this early game. Let's see if he can keep it together and figure out what kind of busts Soulkey's going for, because he is just the king of busting open Protoss, guys. This guy is so good at finding that one thing that you miss, that one little opening, and busting through that defense.
Oh, absolutely, saying he's the king of skill checks. Basically, there's so many points of transitional weakness that every player has in StarCraft, depending on the matchup. And Soulkey's going to find that chink in the armor that you haven't quite got covered. You better be dotting all of your I's and crossing all of your T's against this guy, because one tiny little bit of greed and suddenly you're going to get busted wide open by this guy. You do not want to sleep when you're against him. Zealots are going to be moving out. No, this time he's got a probe in the wall just to prevent those Lings from getting an easy run by into the main base. Let's see if he's able to force a significant amount of response here from Soulkey. Is he going to make a few extra more Lings, or just wait until this spy is finished up?
Looks like the Scourge are going to be out on the map now, trying to track down these Corsairs. Only one Overlord today in this game. Third gas already from Soulkey. This is looking like a... Oh, dude, it's really looking like a Mutalisk play, and he's going for double Hydralisk Den. This is going to be wild.
Yeah. Okay, so Snow, because he focused down on killing that Overlord, it's going to be harder for him to get out onto the map and actually confirm what's in the main base for Soulkey. He's going to wait until he has 5 Corsairs. He's trying to bait these Scourge into the cannon. Does kill one of them. That's a pretty good job from Snow. Oh, careful. He does manage to... Oh, just take a hit from that Scourge, actually. A little bit of missed micro play from Snow. Is trying to get rid of as many of these Scourge as possible so we can start to come out onto the map with these Corsairs as a critical moment that he can get some confirmation scout in the main base of Soulkey. He needs to identify this is a mind game and that there will be a double Hydra Den behind this, getting range and speed at the same time. He's going to make it look like an Ogre's gamer movement where he's going to come in with a flood of Mutalisks and Scourge, but the reality is this is going to be mostly just a Hydra bust. He's not got all 3 on gas at these expansions, so he's not really getting that much of a gas income despite having 3 guys. As you can see, just 1 drone on the patch in the natural, and I think 1 or 2 at the third base. So optimizing for a pre-storm bust timing here. Zealot does get out and sees the bad news that there's a lot of Hydras on the way. Snow has to start throwing down a lot of cannon.
Ninja Zealot there getting out and grabbing that information. Really important that he managed to slip that out along that bottom lane. He moves out and clears the Scourge. He really wants to get this Overlord. Overlord speed is already done. Dude, he invested so much into this attack. Will he be able to make it work? There's a lot of Zealots here to buy that time. Jumping on top of one of these cannons. Looks like he's probably taken that down already. There's still one more cannon left. Diving on top of these Overlords right now. 1 DT here in the mix. Is going to stay alive for the time being. Another Overlord might go down. He kills it. Huge kill there. He's killed all the Overlords now. He can go behind these Hydras and try to look for more Overlords to snipe. The DT goes down, though, and another Overlord makes its way to the front. This wall is going to start to die. A drone goes down in the natural. Soulkey is super all in at this point. He's spent so much money to try and make this happen, and so he has to get this done right here, right now. The storm is just seconds away from completion. We're just about at that 9-minute mark. He dives in. 2 cannons go down immediately. He's diving further and further, deeper and deeper. There's only 3 cannons left. 2 more are about to warp. There's the storm. The storm comes in at the very last moment. 2 cannons left out here. Another one warping in. Does he have another storm? 2 more, 3 more zealots making their way to the front. There's just 2 cannons here, Xun, but he's holding. He's holding for the time being. He's got 700 minerals in the bank. He's got to start throwing down cannons. He's got to hold on.
This is crazy. He managed to supply block Soulkey for quite a while there. So Soulkey couldn't rally a lot of Hydras behind this force. He was super all in with that attack. Snow holds. This is now Protoss favored. As long as he doesn't die to the rallied Hydras streaming across the map, he's a shoo-in for winning this game. Soulkey shakes his head. He's so frustrated that he couldn't get the job done behind that. Snow is making it work right now. Beautifully executed for him to keep those overlords back long enough for that DT to buy some precious seconds. The pro blocking was exceptional as well, buying the precious seconds required for that storm to finish up and the energy to tick on to 75, so we could finally get some blankets on top of those Hydras so they can take a long nap.
That was so close, Xun. That was so incredibly close. Soulkey almost pulled it off there. He's got so many Scourge out right now. His drone count is dismal. Almost nothing behind this. And he's just hoping that Snow will come out or make some sort of mistake, do something here, because he cannot ram it down. And he can't transition. He just doesn't have the economy to do so. We might see him make a big round of drones. Okay, he's making a whole bunch of Mutalisks right now. See, dude, he's so all in. It's crazy. He's going to try and snipe all the Templar and just win right here, right now. Okay, there's some drones coming out, but this is insanely all in.
Super all insane. Pretty much about as all in as you can get in this matchup. There is an Archon as well to act as point defense to help buffer against those Mutalisk force, but Soulkey will have to look for high Templar snipes to have any chance at winning this game. It looks like he's starting to squeeze out some drones now. He's thinking, okay, maybe Snow plays super safe here and I can start to transition. Still going to be very Protoss favored for the time being. Is currently supply blocked on top of it all. Snow's powering up to 9 gateways to go for a very powerful 2 timing all-in attack to try and put Soulkey out of his misery. Let's see if he can make that happen. Currently the Corsairs are scouting out, sharking around the map, seeing if they can figure out what the transition point is going to be from Soulkey. He sees that Soulkey's invested in quite a big air fleet, so he needs to be careful with these Corsairs that the Scourge don't intercept them and take them all down here. He's trying to get an intercept vector on those Corsairs, but luckily Snow was on top of things and he can get those back to safety.
He will get those back to safety, and he's got a little Zealot scouting force out on the map, checking the capabilities of the Zerg player right now. How many drones has he added on? Is he, you know, playing safe here, or just trying to bail himself out with a huge round of drones that might signal to him an attack timing is possible? He's pulling together all of these Templars. He's seen the Mutas and Scourge that are available. He knows that Soulkey is completely reliant on some big Templar snipes with these Mutas to make himself viable in this upcoming fight. So he's got to be very careful, very slow and methodical about how he pushes out here. Keep that Archon active. Try to gun down these Mutas when they come in. He's got a good number of those Corsairs as well. Here's the 4th base starting now for Soulkey. It's a bit behind curve, but everything is for Soulkey right now. He is far behind where he should be, and if he manages to take this one home, I just don't even know what to say, Xun. It's crazy how all in he's been this game, and he's been given a little bit of an opportunity here to come back. We'll see if Snow can close things.
Yeah, Snow's taking out an insurance policy right now. Going to be getting his 3rd base behind this attack as well, so he's not all in with this force. Just wants to put on as much pressure to Soulkey as possible. Has got these lurkers finished up at this sort of rally point location. Beautiful preemptive storm on those Scourge. Prevents most of the connections. There's still 5 Corsairs alive to screen those Mutalisks and make it very difficult to come in here and snipe these 6 Templars. There's a very powerful unit composition that Snow's gone for here. Really perfect. 6 Templars, almost 2 control groups of Dragoons, as well as some Zealots to buffer and that one Archon to act as point defense. Here comes Soulkey from the south, though, targeting down some of these high Templars. He can't find the rest of them, though. Beautiful storms from Snow, pushing it down right now. Can he go all the way? Doesn't matter what kind of hole Soulkey's got to work with. It looks like the square peg of Snow is going to fit just about anything right now. If it doesn't, he's going to make it. Here comes the wraparound from Lurkers from the west, though. Beautiful storms connecting onto those. He should be fine here as long as the Observer stays alive.
Yeah, these upgrades kicking in just in the nick of time. The Dragoons are on top of these hatcheries, just gunning down everything as it pops out. Soulkey just didn't have the economic engine behind that initial attack. What's this? Oh, the probes. Looks like they're being pulled. They're being sent to the third base right now. He's getting that insurance policy underway. He's making sure that he has a follow-up here, just in case Soulkey was somehow to survive this, but he will not. We're going to see the first Products victory of the night, guys. It will not happen. Wow. Another 4-0 is impossible.
This is just what Snow needs. A win in one of these first two games. Cement his mojo. Get that momentum going. Disrupt the flow of the champion, make him annoyed at himself, and just focus on your gameplay. Don't let this guy get under your skin no matter what, Snow. Just stay cold, focused, and disciplined as you go forward. And patience is so important, saying patience is a warrior's greatest weapon. If Snow can maintain that patience and knowing what he needs to do in the next phase of the game. Look at that happy camper over there. I'm hoping that's the face we're going to be seeing at the end of this series too. Just imagine if Snow is the guy to take down Soulkey in this ASL season, we're going to be going nuts.
Oh, for sure, Xun. That would give us a shoe-in for a brand new ASL champion. That is some exciting stuff. Both Best and Snow have not managed to take away that title just yet, but they both absolutely deserve it. We're getting a little replay here. That Zealot was insanely clutch. Just snuck out the bottom lane there right as this attack was getting underway. Soulkey missed it. He had all of his lings out in the front, but he just didn't have that one lane covered. And so he gave barely enough time for Soulkey, or for Snow to get out there and get that information and get these cannons online. And now, as you guys can see, it just was just not able to get in here in time. These kills on the Overlords were so clutch, keeping that DT alive at the very end there, managing to kill off so many Overlords and really supply block Soulkey, slow down this push, sandbag it, get just enough cannons out here. Dude, are we going to see all the way through, all the way to the end here when there's only 2 cannons left? How intense was that?
That's insane. I'm getting chills just watching the replay, even though I know what's going to happen. That's just nuts, saying. I did think that we were going to be seeing some of the best Products versus Zerg of the season here today, but I'm already kind of speechless. I have no idea what's going to happen between these two guys. It's going to be Soulkey's pick next on Dominator, guys.
I'm expecting more shenanigans from Soulkey, more bust plays from him. But maybe he wants to switch it up. After that loss, he looked a bit tilted. He looked a bit off his game. And he was kind of shaking his head after game 1 and game number 2. And so I wonder if he'll fall back on a more macro-centric player. Will he continue to go for these bust styles? It really is his forte, pulling out these interesting strategies and these unique switch-ups in order to throw the Protoss off. That was a crazy opener that Soulkey did that game.
Oh, yeah. He's like kind of the king of mind games. We've said before. He does like to do this style where he'll make you think he's doing one thing and he's got this backup plan that he's going to completely surprise you with. He does do the double den quite often against Protoss, and a lot of people are caught off guard by it. That one Ninja Zealot, though, scouting it out, getting him just the valuable time he needs to start throwing down a massive clutch of cannons. Kind of insane stuff, and he barely held that, saying, barely held that. That was razor-thin margins there. Beautiful movement with the Corsairs and DT as well, like making the Hydra shoot the Corsairs just a little bit, slowing down their momentum and getting into positions to start sniping cannons as those others started to warp in. And then beautiful shuffling with the DT as well, staying outside of the periphery of that Overlord vision range. Everyone's chugging Hot 6 today. Go for it. Chug, 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 chug.
Guys, get yourselves a beer. Get yourselves a little snack. Maybe taking a break here, waiting for this next game. This is absolutely what we've been waiting for this entire year. 2025 is going to be a fantastic year of StarCraft, and this is a awesome peak that we're witnessing right now. We've got today Snow versus Soulkey, and on the 25th at 2 p.m. Korean Standard Time, the finals is going to be played.
It's going to be nuts, and I'm so looking forward to this. If you guys are watching belatedly on YouTube, we are currently streaming this live over at souplive.com/SCTVEN. This series and the finals is going to be the only opportunity you guys have of getting hold of one of those jackets. So if you want to throw some gems our way or subscriptions, there's a subscription for an entry for one of the jackets and a 50 gem entry for one of the other ones, and that's in multiples. So 2 subscriptions is 2 entries, 100 gems is 2 entries. Whatever you want to give us, show us some love. Try and get hold of that. You can see there the caster in the center showing you how small and light those mice are, and I've got one in my hands right now that I'm casting with for Push to Talk. I can attest to just how good those mice are. That's a G Pro X Super Light. Check them out.
So it's not entirely true, Xun. Actually, we're going to have SDS this week as well, the Soup Duel series.
Oh, right.
So every time we go live, if you guys want to donate 50 gems for an entry or 1 gifted sub, you can donate during those live times as well on SCTVEN, and you will be entered to win one of those ASL jackets. So plenty of opportunities, and those SDS are at a much better time for you guys in North America. It's at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're not able to get in live for the ASL, maybe that's going to be a good alternative for you guys. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll pull up the suit chat. We'll be right back in 5 minutes for that next game, guys. Stick with us. Okay, boys, it is all tied up. We're ready for game number 3. Oh, Snow is such a little cutie. We saw his little interview there. So glad to see this guy in the semifinals once again. He really got a bad roll of the dice with his opponent being Soulkey, but he is looking powerful. He's looking strong. His defense there of that Hydralisk attack was very clean. Getting out on the map, he knows Soulkey backwards and forwards, inside and out. He's played him so many times. He just needs to put together those that defense and that clean PvZ play that can actually take out Soulkey today.
Well, I'm sure he's had a lot of help from some of these other guys that are a little sick of the Soulkey shtick here. And maybe many of these great Zergs have sat down with Snow and been like, okay, this is what you need to do. And they've gone over a lot of things with Snow, helping him prepare for a lot of the mind games and all-ins that usually Soulkey likes to throw out in these series. He's probably had some help from some other Protoss players as well that would just love to see Soulkey be dismantled. I'm sure that Snow is going to be thanking a lot of those guys if he does manage to pull out the win here today, because I imagine he's had so much help and preparation for his practice against this. Most of the pros at this stage of the tournament, of course, have been eliminated. So their only real way of taking part in the ASL is by helping these last remaining guys out in their practice.
It'd certainly be doing Best a huge favor if he managed to take out Soulkey today. Although I'm not sure he could take on Snow in PvP. I'd definitely put Snow ahead of Best in that matchup.
Absolutely.
It's just Soulkey is such a beast. I don't know if Best can take him out either.
Yeah, I mean, Best is a pretty good player, but when it comes to Protoss versus Protoss, it's honestly not his strongest matchup by far. He's just an absolute Protoss versus Terran monster that's kind of struggled in that mirror and versus Zerg. His Protoss versus Zerg has been a lot better, so he might have a chance against Soulkey like Snow as well. We'll have to see if that transpires.
Yeah, guys, here we go. Dominator is our next map. These guys are ready. We hope you're ready out there as well. It's gonna get started.
Here we go. ASL Season 19 Snow versus Soulkey. Game number 3 on Dominator. Let's get it on.
Snow, bottom left. Soulkey spawning here in top left. Dominator. Excellent 3-player map. Has some quirks and it's been adjusted, but it won't matter too much in this matchup, I think. The adjustments have been mostly related to PvT. This map has stayed mostly the same, though, in this matchup, and it's given us some great games over the years.
Oh, absolutely. I really do love this map. Like we said before, it's my favorite 3-player map in a long time. I used to be a big fan of Sylphid as well. Longinus way back when in the OG days, if you guys remember that. But hold the phone, saying, look what we got here. It's gonna be some center gates from Snow. I mean, if I was Soulkey, I'd be checking the center of the map with a drone scout, but there's been some games where he didn't even bother drone scouting, just instead making 4 to 6 Zerglings early on and using those to scout. There's a very strong possibility he doesn't identify this, and Snow gets away with some crazy aggression.
We were talking about practice partners earlier. I'm wondering if one of those practice partners was Mini. Putting a center gate, double gate here. Is kind of a mini build. This is his motif, his modus operandi, and so I wonder if this takes Soulkey off guard. It's already a pretty good build order going into this. When is he gonna build? Oh,
Well,
he went for a
this was
9 hatch. Oh
Yeah,
my
so
goodness.
Just about to say, he's 9 hatching, which is optimized against gateway first, but not necessarily against 2 gateways that are going to be in your face like this. So he will be able to make 8 Zerglings all at the same time, but the Zealot will already be coming into the base at that time, saying it's going to be nuts. He might do a lot of damage to Soulkey. He's optimized for a little bit of a delayed Zealot timing coming all the way from the natural of Snow, not the center of the map with 2.
I was so focused on these 2 gates in the center, didn't even realize 9 hatch is crazy. That's actually going to give him a good chance of pulling enough lings together to actually win. If he was going for 12 hatch, it would be so difficult. Or 11 hatchery. It would be so difficult to hold on against these Zealots. If he did a build similar to what he did last game, for example, it would be a desperate situation for Soulkey right now, but he still has a chance here. Let's see how this first Zealot probe do, because they can 2-shot these drones. He's got to be very careful. Oh, that drone is super low. Doesn't want to get in the way of these drones, though. Let them get a nice surround on that Zealot. Wants to keep as much health on those as possible. He can just straight up fight the lings as they start to pop out here if he's got enough health on these Zealots. Oh, the surround is pretty good, though. Lings coming in from every side. This is the power spike that 9 hatchery gives you. These early lings, this extra bit of larva is allowing him to push through, but all the Zealots are still alive. So many of these are on low HP, and he's actually getting in the way of every single ling. Oh, he's doing it.
He's doing it, Saiyan. I mean, this is crazy. He needs to be careful. These 2 low HP Zealots on the left-hand side need to stay alive as well. But so far, so good for Snow. Soulkey does identify that low HP Zealots, trying to target it down. He's putting a lot of pressure onto this hatchery. If he gets the kill on this, it's going to be great for Snow. Soulkey needs to wrap around and start fighting these Zealots now. He does protect the low HP Zealot. Soulkey's in trouble. He's going to get us around maybe on these 2 lings that are popping out as well. Some lings coming from the main base. Can Snow do it? Soulkey's doing a pretty good job of isolating these low HP Zealots slowly but surely. But here come another round of 2 Zealots to try and close the deal. These eggs are just about to hatch, but he has to pull drones now. He's lost so many Zerglings. He's trying to target down that low HP Zealot. He is successful in doing so. 2 high HP Zealots and 1 red HP Zealot right now is working for Snow. Has got this probe to block and help out with that particle beam to try and get some 2 shots on those lings as well. To kill a drone with 2 shots, you do need 2 hits from that particle beam of that drone. Starting to throw down a creep colony now to see if he can get a Sunken to put a clock on its attack.
Dude, these next 2 Zealots, I think Snow's just going to have to go with them. He can't allow this Sunken Colony to finish. He has to get in here and stop this. But the drones are being pulled. That's a lot of lings, and the Sunken Colony has started once again. Oh boy, this is getting a little dirty. It seems like the surround is going to be enough. Soulkey, with the 9 hatchery play, has overwhelmed this. And back at home, there's almost nothing. A lot more probes here for Snow, but he does not have the defenses ready to hold back these lings that are coming across the map.
He's going to hope that this gateway in the main base could squeeze out a Zealot to micro with the probes. He's pulling back 1 single Zealot to try and get into the main base to fight these Zerglings with, so he can use probes and this Zealot in conjunction to stop too much harass coming online. Now he's going to have to wait for a second Zealot to come and join those forces, while the 4 at the front try and hold the line and keep these 2 gateways in the center alive. Soulkey's going to try and dive on top of those probes. Pretty good drilling from Snow, but it's not good enough. Soulkey targets down 2 of those probes, trying to get a 3rd now. It's going to be a little bit more time before a Zealot pops out from that gateway in the main base. I mean, if he can somehow keep these gateways alive in the center of the board, he will still have a fighting chance against this. Soulkey's going to try and surround that pylon right now. 2 Zealots are available. He's using the doodads to kind of block the lings from getting good surface area. There are some Zealots nearby that are desperately trying to get in to save this gateway. If somehow Snow can keep these gateways online in the natural expansion, he might still have a chance at breaking Soulkey here, but it's going to be close.
I think Snow is likely going to have to transition while just keeping these 2 gateways in the center alive. He may be throwing down a forge here shortly. He's got a lot of Zealots in the middle of the map, but he's got to be careful to keep that pylon alive. Not a lot of drones back at home for Soulkey, and so he's looking for an opportunity to start gunning down these Zealots in small pockets, while putting on pressure over at that natural. I think there's about 3 or maybe even 4 Zealots over at that natural now. It's not enough to completely wall this off, but it's very difficult for him to get in here and actually take a good fight right now. That probe is in the front. It's really blocking things up. Oh, he does manage to slip by a little bit here, but the trading's very good for Snow. More Lings come up. Looks like Ling's speed just finished as well. This is a really big moment. Right as Ling's speed finishes, he's going to be able to do a lot with this. Zealots are coming back right now. He's got quite a few here for the wall. Lings make their way into the main base. This could be a lot of damage here, Xun.
Oh, he needs to surround the cannon. Surround the cannon with a probe drill, Snow. Then you can maybe make this work. Soulkey's desperate to get as much probe damage as possible to try and even out the economic scaling. Might be able to get some of these pylon kills in the natural. He's just going to flood non-stop Zerglings and try and overwhelm the task switching ability of Snow. He has killed that pylon to supply box Snow temporarily. If Snow can somehow stabilize with cannons in his natural, he can transition and make a good game of it. But so far, Soulkey doing a pretty good job of isolating these Zealots to try and pick them off. If he gets the kill on that forge, it's going to be pretty big too. Though Snow does have a tiny chance here. If he can somehow protect that forge and build a cannon, he would have been able to wall in his natural expansion. Soulkey, though, does pick off that forge, keeps the wall exposed, and forces Snow to instead maybe hold this ramp and be stuck on one base economy. Pretty good surround from Soulkey on these last remaining Zealots. He's starting to overwhelm Snow, but there are still some Zealots banked up back at home. Can he block this ramp to prevent a run by?
Dude, we're 16 supply to 41 here. It's crazy, but Soulkey's like almost breaking him. Oh my goodness, the supply differential is absolutely insane. He has built so many Lings and lost so many Lings. This position is crazy good from Snow. I think he's specifically gone for this build on this map because of those little doodads. Yes. I'm almost 100% certain on that. He's done such a good job.
Completely right, Seth. He's done such a good job of abusing those tiny little nooks and crannies. Soulkey, though, starting to get these Zealots surrounded. They can't quite get back to those little hidey holes, and eventually he might be killing that pylon now before Snow can stabilize with some more Zealots popping out. One more does finish, but it will not be enough to save this pylon, I don't think. He's instead going to relegate himself to securing the natural expansion and try and get a win condition with a transition here by getting a Nexus eventually in the natural and setting up a wall to hold the line. There's not that many drones from Soulkey behind this, so even though he's powered off these two gateways in the center, as long as Snow prevents a run by here, there's a really strong chance of a transition working out for Snow, slowly but surely.
Yeah, with those two cannons there, he can make a wall of Zealots, hold position on those, then start this Nexus. Dude, there's so little here for Soulkey. I can't imagine him winning this game. It's crazy how far ahead. We're half the supply. And I mean, it was even less than that just moments ago, right? 40 something supply to 16, 17 supply. Unreal how much Soulkey went for this, how many Lings he was willing to produce there to try and just end this game. But Snow held on through thick, and then he just barely managed to keep everything alive. He is going to lose these gateways in the middle, but I don't think it matters.
He has one gateway in the main, so it doesn't really slow down his tech pattern or production too much either. Snow's actually feeling pretty okay about this. He's already got a few standing forces of these Zealots waiting in retinue at the natural expansion. Doesn't matter too much that he lost the production power of those two center gates. If anything, it just complicates things for him to keep coming out to defend those. He tries to sneak a probe scout into the main base. Can't do it, though. Beautiful hawk tour there from Soulkey, isolating that Zealot with a drill. Sorry, the probe with the drill, and preventing it into main base and spotting that lair that's coming online.
Well, he's going to have this Corsair coming out here pretty soon. I think he's well aware of how low Soulkey is on his economy. He's going to transfer a lot of probes over here towards his natural. Kind of even things out a little bit, smooth those minerals so that he doesn't mine out quite as quickly, because he has taken this Nexus pretty darn late in this game. He will mine out faster in the main. Dude, this is crazy. We're actually going to go into a longer game. I think that Snow's going to deal a lot of damage with this Corsair, and he's going to have this +1 done so quickly. Yeah, these Lings are going to absolutely melt. That's so many Zealots.
I really do like Snow's chances in here, but there's one thing going for Soulkey. Snow's kind of misplaced this Stargate a little bit. It's so far to the right that if this is an krrrzzz gamer move from Soulkey, where he goes up into Muta Scourge, he's got a win condition on killing that Stargate away from the cannons and still getting a condition on breaking down Snow slowly but surely, preventing any air superiority being achieved. Also, these cannons in the natural aren't covering the minerals in that natural, so he might be forced to throw down more and more cannons to hold the line against the krrrzzz. But this scout is so critical from Snow. He's going to get in there, spot that spire, and spot the transition. Sees the second gas from Soulkey as well, so he can be pretty darn sure that this might be a Mutalisk investment from him and trying to bowl him over. And once he sees the Sunkens that are going down as well, he's probably feeling pretty sure that this will be a Mutalisk follow-up from Soulkey. That could still be a mind game from Soulkey. We don't know for sure. We'll have to wait and see. But it does look like he is going to be committing a lot of resources into making a ton of Mutalisk and Scourge.
It's going to be all up to this hold here. Can Soulkey keep this third base alive? That's a lot of Zealots, but the speed is not done yet. I think he's going to wait for that +1 as well. The +1 makes this so much easier to chunk through. All the Zealots. How many cannons does he have back at home? I'm really worried for Snow if he gets bowled over by krrrzzz again. Like game number 1, that would be absolutely heartbreaking after all the struggles he's been through in this early game, just barely keeping himself alive. Oh, almost loses one Corsair. That's crazy. That Stargate is pretty far away from things, and Soulkey just spotted it with his Scourge. Maybe he can dive in there and get that 5 Mutalisk back at home. This is a scary moment for Snow, but he's really getting his macro online now, and that +1 is just about to finish. Oh, it is done already. He's going for +1 armor.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good for Snow. He just has to make sure that there's no way of like these Corsairs being picked off for free as they pop out of the Stargate and what have you. Soulkey sharking around with those Scourge, scouting things out. We have a Dark Templar and a High Templar popping out now. Eventually, we'll start to get that mid to late game tech online, and we're going to be seeing a real game on our hands where both players transition. How insane is this, that these players are such a high caliber that a 2-gate in the center of the board versus a 9-hatch is going to be turning into a more or less standard Zerg versus Protoss game? This is nuts, Saiyan.
Yeah, this is very wild. He sees all the mutas. That's a big tip of the hat. Seeing those mutas there is going to reveal the strategy completely for what Soulkey is up to right now. The Corsairs come forward. They're going to drive those away, bully those back. No Templar have been sniped thus far. And so Snow can just keep building Corsairs here, get up to a ridiculous amount where he can just annihilate those mutas and escort those Templars safely, I believe. We'll see if Soulkey's able to get in there and snipe down a couple of these, maybe get a couple of wild hits with the Scourge on those Corsairs and lower that count so he can overcome in the air. But I think it should be Snow overwhelming the forces in the air. There's 2 cannons here in the main. The storm is huge. That storm from the low ground there, or from the below the patches there. He gets so many kills on these mutas. He's gonna clean up everything in the air.
That's crazy. He killed like 3 or 4 of his own probes to make sure that would happen. Beautiful play there from Snow. He had a High Templar hiding really deep behind that mineral line. It's going to pay off big. Now he's got no air support to work with. That is Soulkey now relying on a lurker transition to hold the line. That means Snow can get this third base up more or less undeterred. Some Lings are going to try and intercept that and get a cancel one of those cannons and slow that down, but it doesn't really matter. Snow should be able to get that third base online and start applying pressure and leaning on Soulkey at this rally point location. He's going to still remake some Mutalisks here and hope that he can snipe up some of these High Templar units, but with the fact that he's still got a small fleet of Corsairs available to him, now is pumping Dragoons. This is definitely Snow favored. Soulkey's trying to rely on some tempo to come in here and snipe these High Templars, but some good preemptive storms to prevent that from occurring does keep Snow in a very strong driver's seat.
Soulkey attempting to remake mutas here to get one over on Snow right now. He's hoping that he can get a couple of snipes on these Templar, and it's such a good comeback mechanic for the Zerg. We've seen it a million times over, but there's so many Corsairs here ready to deter this, to push this back, and now we see Lurkers running forward and just dying to the Protoss army. Soulkey is completely falling apart. This has not gone to plan. The snipes on the Storms there, the hits that he was able to get as that Mutalisk Flock came into the main. So clutch. Soulkey is in complete disarray. Somehow managed to scrape together 100 supply, though. I don't know how that's possible, but he's managed to do it.
Yeah, well, he didn't even get Hydra upgrade on the speed until just this second. He went straight into lurker aspects to try and have some tech advantage. If he could get some lurkers over at this 9 o'clock position before the cannons were set up properly, he was hoping to slow down the mining on that base. He knows that snow is going to be mined out super early in the main base because of how much oversaturated that base was for a long time, utilizing that center gate. So it's a bit of a wonky game because snow is relegated back down to 2 base worth of mining, despite having a fast third base to work with. Has got 3 gases to work with, which is going to pay dividends, allowing him to put a massive force of Dragoons as well as many High Templars as he needs. He's going to go all the way up to like 6 High Templars in this standing army and have maybe 2 more back at home on top of it. He's going to be securing this mineral only to supplement that quick mine out of his main base, while Soulkey tries to play wide himself, throwing down Sunkens in a panic at this base in the top right pocket. He knows just how far behind he is in the curve of this game. If Snow pulls the trigger and attacking him right now, he might just be bowled over.
Mutalisk heading around the bottom side. They're going to be caught onto by this wide, splayed out army of Snow moving across the map. He's detected those mutas, and so he will bring forward his Corsairs to counter. Heading over towards this top right, he's going to encounter a lot of sunken colonies. Will he be willing to push through this much defense, or is he going to look to the natural or maybe the third base for this bust attempt? Soulkey is hoping that he's going to have Snow or force Snow into diving on one of these bases, taking a bad fight into a good defensive position so that he can come back in this game. But for now, Snow is just going to focus on getting more bases online and forcing Soulkey to come out to him. This is some really good dodging with the Corsair, by the way, keeping those alive for the most part. Still a lot of mutas on the field looking for those snipes. Dude, Soulkey's going to get into Hive as well.
This is going to be crazy. I mean, Soulkey's definitely going to have an ability to win this game still, but Snow is playing out of his mind, Saiyan. I really did think he was potentially going to lose after Soulkey got a clean up on those initial Zealots, but using the doodads in the center of the board has led to a really crazy game on our hands, and there's going to be a lot of pressure coming into Soulkey's face now, and he's already behind the Sim City when the High Templars start to arrive, so if he wants to, he can just storm over the Sim City of the wall and start absolutely destroying the entrenched position of the Zerg with those units all stuck behind those buildings. But instead he's just sharking around the map, trying to see if he can get another base online at the 6 o'clock. Soulkey though got some Zerglings to try and intercept that and see if he can get a cancel down there. It would be really great if Snow can keep expanding and just start splitting the map and forcing Soulkey to come to him. It's great that all these 2 Templars in the natural expansion rally point do manage to get at least a storm off. Oh, those Mutalisks might get chased down by the neutron flares of those Corsairs. Now they are very softened up, but luckily Soulkey manages to turn tail and run just in the nick of time before Snow could execute a chase micro on those. Soulkey going to be trying to slip a drone over to his 3 o'clock base as well to go up to 5 bases of his own and try and match Snow toe to toe. This is going to be a real wild game, Sam.
I don't know how Soulkey's doing it, man. How is he staying even on supply with Snow? It's ridiculous, but Snow is playing for the long game. He doesn't want to risk losing here in a siege. He doesn't want to, go up to the natural and just start gunning down those, utilizing the Dragoons to hit the wall and all that stuff, and leave the option open for Soulkey to wrap around the back and try to get a full surround and clean up that army. Instead, he's going to play for the long game, try to spread out into this bottom right, preemptively get these bases online. Before Soulkey gets down here to this other main, it's going to be a play for that center right main, guys. Both players are looking to take it, and whoever gets to hold that is going to have an advantage in this series.
Oh, it's a beautiful snipe from Soulkey, taking out a few of these critical high Templars. If he can do that a few more times, there will not be enough splash available to him to start skirmishing with the Zerg effectively enough. He is going to still try and push the issue, though. Beautiful storms and shots with these space disruptors of this Dragoon force, trying to trade as well as he can against Soulkey and deny this mineral only from going up. He just wants to spend as much of this storm energy as possible, back out again, and you know, rinse and repeat, and just start to grind down Soulkey as best as ability. The problem is that he's against the champion right now, who's got probably the best macro as a Zerg in the entire world, which is how he's able to stay toe-to-toe with him on supply in quite this fashion. Snow, though, doing a good job of shutting down this mineral-only expansion and is starting to trade with him. Needs to be careful, though. Soulkey will still be getting good value trades if he's not careful, isolating these High Templars and sniping them down with these Hydras despite being stormed into oblivion.
I think Soulkey is completely fine with Snow attacking over on this side right now. Soulkey is gearing up to take that center right. As long as his attention is all focused on this side, Soulkey is going to be moving into that main base over there and getting his Defilers online here shortly. Oh, those are just a bunch of mutas over on center right. Okay, just kind of holding that ground, making sure that Snow can't get that up for free. Army moving forward here. He's actually behind in supply. This is incredible. 180 supply for Soulkey. That is unbelievable to me.
But he is still technically only on 4 bases, and 2 of those are more or less mined out now. The natural will take a little bit longer to mine out because of how crazy this game has gone. He had such a low drone saturation for such a while. But there is a real strong possibility that Snow can, you know, like, try and sandbag Soulkey and make this game go the distance. Soulkey's not going to let that transpire. He's going to push the issue now, running down to the rally point of Snow. He pre-splits his lurkers. That's a really good effort from Soulkey to not let them all get stormed and clumped up too much. Going to now start to rotate those units around to this mineral-only expansion. Pretty good blanketing of storms onto those units. Snow's army kind of slightly out of position as Soulkey tries to drive a wedge between it. So, Snow is holding the line ever so slightly, but Soulkey will start to Sauron Zerg this down and send rallies of units across the map to try and reinforce this position and utilize the lurker entrenchment here to the best of his ability to start to overwhelm Snow. Snow, though, doing a pretty good job of not panicking and just doing what he needs to do. Here comes the next swell of units from the Zerg, trying to isolate these units that are slightly out of position. If he can kill this mineral only for Snow right now, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, he's trying to kill this mineral only, but that'll only put him onto even bases. He still hasn't gotten his next base online. More storms coming forward here. More zealots coming out as well. The Hydras making their way onto the high ground, targeting down these critical Dragoons. What he needs to push through the lurkers that have been brought here right up to that front. There's a lot of lurkers stacked on top of each other. Can he get a big storm on all of them? He hasn't been able to so far, and now that they're all spread here, it's becoming very crazy and chaotic. Getting on this high ground, another storm goes down, another kill on one of these lurkers. Dark Templar in the mix, but that's actually being spotted. Great swipe there, just getting rid of that lurker. He's managed to do it. He's managed to force back Soulkey here. Despite all of the aggression, he's hanging on to this high ground and keeping this base alive. Soulkey's still pushing forward, though, still getting these trades, and he's going to push him back even further. Another rally comes forward, but it seems like Soulkey's a little faster with the rallies.
It's kind of insane. I think he's just barely doing it. Soulkey now has Defiler tech online, but he's dangerously close to being mined out. Has been able to get the mineral only up behind this, so he'll be on 3 bases worth of economy when all said and done. That still does favor Snow in the long run, though. Soulkey is kind of semi-all-in right now, trying to get major damage done to Snow, so he can't reach a critical mass of army to start skirmishing with the Zerg once again. He's trying to keep this Protoss force in small of number. Here comes the leapfrog of orange clouds of death. The Dark Swarm now starting to encroach on this position, so we can get his lurkers up underneath there and cause even more problems for these Dragoons and trying to clean up these forces. He's now primarily reliant on that DT Warp Blade and these Zealots and the Storm and cleaning up those lurkers. The Storm's doing a pretty good job. Here comes another round of lurkers with a small split. If the he's got any more storms left, he's going to be okay. He's just barely killing these lurkers under Dark Swarm to keep Soulkey at bay. There's still more consumes coming down to keep this attack online. Just pure Sauron Zerg mode here from Soulkey, trying to close out the game right here, right now. Is there enough to overwhelm Snow? Snow is macroing on all cylinders. Both players playing about 300 APM, doing their best to keep this online. Seems like an evacuation order has been initiated, and all these probes are going to start making their way down to the 6 o'clock base and make this a little bit of a sacrificial lamb and allow Soulkey to come a bit deeper into the rally point. Hopefully he can hold the line a bit further back.
This is absolutely stunning what we're seeing out of Soulkey right now. He is pulling out so many units. A DT gets over there towards that mineral only. Could that be the game changer? Diving in on top of this natural. Now the DT is getting so many kills. And this is one of the last mining bases here for Soulkey. He's almost completely mined out in the main and natural. Everything's gone. The third is empty as well.
That takes a lot of steam out of Soulkey. That's 12 lava he has to now dedicate to re-droning. So that's 24 Zerglings or 12 Hydras he can no longer make to keep this attack alive if he wants to resaturate to that same amount of mining output. This is problematic for Soulkey. He's got to be caught between a rock between a hard place. Do I just keep making units and try and get the job done? Or do I stop and resaturate this base a little bit? He's so far putting a lot of pressure onto Snow. Has got some Dark Swarms down at the 6 o'clock base. These Lings under Dark Swarm will slowly but surely kill those cannons, but Snow very smartly pulled a few of the probes to deal with that, to slow down those efforts, to keep that base on life for a few precious seconds so he can rotate down some Zealots to come and protect this. Soulkey, though, trying to get the kill move on this base while he still can. Here comes the hit squad of Zealots, 4 of them now, trying to come in and save this. He barely will kill this Nexus in time, and that takes a lot of steam away from Snow to hold the line despite killing those drones.
Dude, the Archon bottom right is crazy. I can't believe that was there. Oh my god, the probes are getting absolutely massacred as well. So many probes going down. Dude, is Soulkey really gonna win? He completely forgot about that Archon bottom right. He could have saved that base.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Just one tiny mistake here from Snow might be all it takes for Soulkey to end up the victor. He's doing a great job of isolating this few last remnants of Protoss force. This is like the defense of Aya, and I think that the Overmind is coming out on top, at least for now. Snow's in a bit of disarray. He's lost that mineral already. He's lost that base at 6 o'clock. The natural is pretty much mined out. The 9 o'clock is really his only saturated base at the moment. He's going to try and retake that mineral only now. I'm not sure if there's enough dent in the economy of Soulkey. He's only got 2 mining bases of his own, has Soulkey, so this isn't necessarily an over game yet. Snow technically can still win this with how few mining bases Soulkey's got to operate under.
This is crazy, Xun. I am blown away by the prowess of Soulkey, what he's displayed in this game. His ability to overwhelm that position from such a desperate spot. Absolutely stunning. And I mean, he's found himself in actually a pretty reasonable position now. I'm so upset that Archon, I'm sure Snow is going to be extremely upset as well, that Archon wasn't in position to stop those Lings. Oh man, it's almost on the level of that Blitz Y game when he forgot to mine that gas. It's crazy what a small mistake is actually standing between him and a victory right now.
I hear you saying, but I still think Snow can do this. He just needs to get this mineral only back online. As long as Soulkey cannot get one more mining base up and operational, Snow can still make this work. This is still Soulkey's game to lose right now, because he hasn't necessarily done enough damage to Snow. Like, Snow's done a really good job of holding the line, trading pretty cost efficiently. He's like 20-30 supply ahead, and Soulkey only on this like mineral only and base in the top right. That's eventually going to get mined out, and Soulkey's extremely oversaturated on some of these bases, so he'll mine out just about as quickly as Snow will. So you won't have the advantage of having a lot of bases with low saturation as he would usually. And there's a chance that Snow could somehow stabilize this game state and, you know, churn out a couple more probes, get them mining at the mineral only, and suddenly we've got another crazy long game on our hands.
He can't come in here right now, and yeah, plagues are going to start to come out as well. It's primarily zealot-based army. Sniping down those Archons was pretty big. Getting those kills was quite huge, and cutting off that extra gas as well, that 4th gas, is really going to slow down this Templar army. Gonna go ahead and attack up into top right. He's definitely trapping himself by doing this. He's gonna end up with a full surround of Zerg, hitting him from all angles. And actually, Soulkey's gonna go for a counter with this. He's just gonna run in here and try to break the mineral only. Let's see if he can make this happen, or if Snow will be able to get down the storms that he needs to shut this down. That's so many lurkers right on top of each other. He's holding the storm for a really long time, hoping that he can get the best storms possible. Pretty good storm there on the left-hand side, but the zealots that have been plagued are just getting taken out so quickly, and these observers are getting taken down really, really well by Soulkey. Now, can he even clear these out? I don't think he has the... I don't think he's got the observer to do this. He is going to clear this up. Wow, he actually holds.
It's crazy. Soulkey's got another round of units starting to make its way downtown to deal with that. Snow didn't actually kill that base in the top right, but he did deny a lot of mining up there. Only just now are the drones making their way to start mining it again. It's just this last mining base, this last bastion of hope for Snow. Soulkey's going to try and get the win condition right here, like getting on top of this rally point. Beautiful storms from Snow. What a nail biter of a Protoss versus Zerg we've got. It looks like Soulkey just barely doesn't have enough to do it. He's got so many drones back at home, but on such few mining bases, so even though the supplies look dead even right now, there's not actually a lot of army supply for Soulkey, and a lot of probes were killed, so relatively speaking, there's much more army supply for Snow. If he can just execute perfectly here and not make any more micro errors, there is a way of Snow winning this game. Soulkey's doing a good job of playing keep away and rotating around with these Hydras. Going to see if he can start picking off some of these probes and maybe cutting off a little bit of the steam away from Snow, so we can't have a powerful macro engine to keep expanding and outgrow Soulkey in this game. This is absolutely wild, saying that base in the top right, despite not being killed by Snow, is about to be mined out.
This is ridiculous, Xun. I'm blown away by what we're seeing here. Snow hanging on in such spectacular fashion. Guys, I'll remind you, this started out with a 2 gateway in the middle of the map, and here we are 32 minutes into the game. These guys are mining out on 4 bases. That is incredible. Actually, 5 bases for Soulkey.
Yeah, I mean, Snow can definitely make this work. He just needs to not make any major blunders here. Soulkey's going to have to blink first and try and take an additional base eventually. Snow also will be thinking about, when do I try and take the 6 o'clock again? Can I even take the 6 o'clock again? He might even start to wait until this mineral only's been more mined out before he makes an attempt at that, just because of how risky it is for him to spread himself so thin against a player of Soulkey's caliber. Looks like we're going to split up a couple of units to the top right to keep some units pinned down for Soulkey up there, while the main attacking force of Snow sees if it can skirmish at the middle only of Soulkey, but sees that there's too much of an entrenched position to make that happen. Both players can't really afford to attack right now. Soulkey's got a few Zerglings waiting at the 6 o'clock to scout for the expansion pattern of Snow, but like we were talking about, Soulkey's about to become mined out on this base in the top right, putting them both down to just 1 base only. This is an absolute crazy game we've got in our hands, saying if Snow can just keep it together, keep this army alive and trade efficiently, he will eventually be able to out-expand and outgrow Soulkey the longer and longer this goes on.
Soulkey looking for those big plagues right now. Can he actually get a good plague out of this Defiler? Not the greatest one. Those Archons, mostly shields. I'm really gonna eat that plague gracefully. Not many Dragoons left in this army, but it's really not useful to have Dragoons at this point. They are going to add on some of that DPS, but the Dark Swarm has been so well placed by Soulkey in all of these fights. He's been doing such a good job of just having that all the time, and so just having the massive Archons and the Storms, a few Zealots mixed in, is going to be the play right now. Snow is looking for that army, and when it's going to make a move, he's waiting for that next base to come up, and so far it hasn't happened. He's really he's mining out so quickly. Soulkey needs to take another base. These little skirmishes are not going his way.
Yeah, Soulkey probably has to take the space in the top left, but he doesn't want to do that because it's very easy for Snow to attack up into that pocket. But there might not be many other choices for Soulkey. He can't afford to spread himself too thinly by taking the bases over on the 3 o'clock side of the map unless he's winning the trades, and he's not technically winning these trades. Snow is holding the line. Protoss just trades out better in the long run than Zerg does. You really do have to work on outmaneuvering your opponent to make it work as Zerg, and so far Snow's done a great job of preventing that. Some pretty beautiful plagues coming down onto those army, especially those couple of Dragoons that's been made. He did clear out the Zerglings that are waiting down at 6 o'clock with that Dark Templar to maybe start to set up a Nexus there. If Soulkey forgets to check that 6 o'clock, he might think that all of Snow's eggs are in this one basket attempt at trading with him. He doesn't check and deny that Nexus going on at 6. Could be a big deal.
That DT managed to clear out all the scouting Zerglings over at that 6 o'clock base. Pushing in forward once again, setting up another Dark Swarm position here and baiting in Snow to try and trade with that. He is going to get a great surround on these lurkers, getting rid of them, and then casting Storm on this high ground. He's actually killing off some of the last Hydras remaining. There's only 2 lurkers left over. Soulkey has not opened into another base here just yet. He hasn't invested into that, and so this might just be his last hope.
He's got a DT as well, harassing the drone line up here, denying some mining time, killing a few drones, distracting Soulkey while he's microing back at home to clear up the last remnants of Zerg offensive force. Snow has started to do it. Now this base has been mined out for about a minute or so in the top right. Snow can stabilize by getting the 6 o'clock online. The mineral only is almost about to be mined out anyway, so he just needs to defend that for a few more seconds and he can abandon it and transfer all the probes now to this 6 o'clock and put everything in holding the line down here instead. He's going to be able to mine this mineral only for a couple of more minutes and eventually make that occur. Soulkey has to start long distance mining this base in the top left pocket like we were talking about. He can make a hatchery up there, but it's a little bit easy for Snow to attack into over and over again from this 9 o'clock position. He's already got fortified from his 3rd base.
Look at Soulkey tilting his head back and forward, licking his lips. He's just about to tap out here. He's ready to hit that GG button, but he's still hanging out in this game just for a little bit longer. See if there's some way he can get a few more minerals into this hatchery and get another base online. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be occurring here. There it is, GG. He taps out. Holy! Snow takes the game of the year, guys. This one was fantastic. Absolute nail biter.
Crazy. What a roller coaster of emotions. Look at Snow's like, oh, after that game. Like, both players were so locked in for so long, taking a little sip of his Starbucks, trying to calm himself. Look at Snow. He's like, yeah. He's trying to probably contain himself at the moment with just how performative that game was. Look at that happy camper. He's going to be feeling exactly like that if he can fight back the tears. If he does somehow dismantle this 3-peat champion of Soulkey here today, he's currently leading in the series 2-1. Can Snow go all the way, Saiyan?
Was that a war cry or was it a cough? Well, if you're in Xun said it was a war cry, man. Snow is loving it right now.
Goddamn right.
Oh my goodness, dude. That was so epic. I am such a happy camper right now. A fantastic PvZ we're getting to witness here tonight. Absolute shocker that Snow is up in this series, but I'm all here for it, Xun. This is fantastic. 35-minute game. 35-minute game on Dominator there. Just what a roller coaster.
What a crazy game. I'm so blown away by the performance of both players. It's not just that Snow played so good there. Soulkey was playing out of his mind as well. The amount of macro Soulkey was able to muster after having such a tiny drone count initially, that's insane. Like, he was ahead of supply of Snow multiple times during that game and really just powering up hard into that hive tech on 4 bases. And the problem was that Soulkey was kind of semi all in quite a lot of that game, trying to get the damage done to cut off the head of the snake, and he couldn't quite kill that base, that mineral only quick enough. It's a shame that Snow didn't find that Archon that was just chilling at the 6 o'clock base, because he probably would have held on a little bit longer to that and had a bit more life in that game. But it doesn't matter. When all said and done, that's a big motivator for Snow going forward, guys.
Wow, they're only going to get 2 minutes of break? Holy.
They must be exhausted.
Yeah, they must be so fatigued after that game. Incredible macro game after what was just an intense rush from Snow. Barely hanging on their Soulkey, bringing it all the way back into a macro position and nearly taking him down with that snipe on the 5th base. I was almost in shambles there when I saw that Archon parked at 6 o'clock, not doing anything as the Lynx cleaned out the Nexus, dude. That was intense. Snow making a few mistakes here and there, but overall, insanely solid Protoss play. Insanely solid. Maybe good enough to take down Soulkey today.
It's crazy. And I mean, he's tilted Soulkey a little bit. I mean, Soulkey was not happy. That was Soulkey's map pick. And now we're going into Death Valley game number 4, which is Snow's pick. I am so happy that we get to see this map coming up with a Snow being in the driver's seat right now, 1 game ahead. Anything can happen. Who knows? Maybe we find out that Soulkey's not going to be getting that Bonjour status after all. And the likes of Snow might be the guy that do it. How insane would that be? I've never been so more happy to potentially get a Protoss versus Protoss in the finals in all my life, saying.
It's been a long time coming, both for Best getting an ASL champion, Snow getting an ASL champion, and us getting to see another Protoss victor. There's been a lot of Protoss complainers out there wondering why it hasn't been happening, but these guys are finally making it so. We're almost there, guys. Snow, just a little further to go. Take down Soulkey here and give us that PvP finals. Soulkey is such a beast, though. I'm sure he can shake that off. Just how deep under his skin has Snow gotten with these first few games?
I mean, Soulkey looks a little pouty. Look at him. Look at him. I think he's done it. I think he's gotten under his skin enough. Soulkey's now on the back foot, and he's the one that's got to maintain his composure. And usually it's Snow is the one that's falling apart and kind of choking in these later phases of the tournament. Not today, saying Snow looks locked in, and we've got a crazy map coming up in Death Valley.
This is Snow's pick, guys. What is he going to pull out here for us? We saw an amazing game between Best and Queen on this map. What does Snow have in the back of his mind right now? I'm so curious. We're going to see it here in a moment. Soulkey, maybe he copies Queen's strategy from that game.
You're about to find out, saying ASL Season 19 Round of 4 Snow versus Soulkey game number 4 on Death Valley. Let's get it on.
Snow spawning top left, Soulkey in the bottom right. We've seen so many players, so many Protoss players pull their early probe. Oh god. Oh god.
It's a 5-pool. Are you kidding me? Soulkey is going to risk his tournament now with this 5-pool. It's not like he's going to get eliminated if he loses, but going down 3-1 to a failed 5-pool, that's not a good position to be in. I mean, you can transition from a 5-pool if he just makes 6 or 8 lings and the rest is drones, and he just tries to get a bit of a technical advantage by harassing the crap out of Snow here. We'll have to wait and see. Snow, though, is going to start this wall in and scout on this top lane. So this 5-pool might still be successful. It's going to come down to whether or not he goes for like 11 Forge or something really quick here. to maybe potentially set up for a cannon rush, but then seeing this 5 pool, he's going to be like, okay, oh no, please just check with your probe. Don't try and be tricky here, Snow. Just send that damn probe in the base.
Yeah, it seems like Soulkey has no intention of fighting whatever strategy Snow had in mind. Instead, he's just going to, oh my gosh, go for this 5 pool. And he's pulling 2 drones off. Is he even going to have money to make links here? It's crazy. Snow's sending out his probe, and he's actually going to slip by. What?
What did I even just see? Does this guy see the Matrix? What kind of like numerical values is he seeing in the game code of reality right now? Spots the 5 pool, has the forge being made back at home. He knows exactly what he needs to do now to slow this down. Can he get his cannons online and body block these links just a tiny bit with this probe to slow them down? Links have ever so slightly a faster movement speed than probes, so if you can get that probe in front of them and slow them down a teeny tiny bit, does buy you a couple of seconds here. He might just make a cannon in his main base because you don't want to try and take your wall in here. He's just going to use this forge to stay online as long as possible, get a cannon made in the main base so we can then start probe drilling over it and protect that cannon at all costs. Soulkey can get a tactical snipe on that forge, but all that Snow needs to do is just get 1 or 2 cannons up in this main base and he's going to be more than fine.
Yeah, he can definitely get this cannon up. 1 probe kill so far. 2 for sure is going to go down. Oh, wait, he actually missed there. 2, 3 so far. I think this is a fantastic position for Snow, dude. I can't see it any other way. There's more drones have popped out, but you know what? He gets this cannon up. He's going to be safe here, and he can hop a probe over the wall at the bottom side and start to make a nexus down there, make a pylon and some cannons there as well. Looks like Soulkey going to be able to kill these assimilators at the bare minimum, but you know what? I think this is fine for Snow. He's going to be okay to just take the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, I don't think Soulkey killed enough of these probes to be completely comfortable with this. You can obviously transition from a 5 pool and make non-stop drones after your initial like 8 lings or so, but in this situation, I think he only killed like 3 probes of Snow, so it's not that big a deal. Like, at the very least, we're gonna have a pretty normal game on our hands when all said and done. I say normal. What's normal between these guys? I mean, it's absolutely insane. Like, the last game on Dominator, we had a double 9 gate in the center of the board that turned into like a 35+ minute absolute tug of war. So yeah, the normal between these guys is absolute insanity.
I think maybe Snow thought that he was going to be able to put some counter pressure on with this. He goes for 2 gates, but the assimilators, he needed to actually get out here and see the assimilator was dying. I don't think he actually spotted that, and so he builds these 2 gates. Now he's going to make some zealots, but they can't actually even get out on the map. He will jump a probe over, make that nexus. That's going to be fine. A hatchery going up on the top side of the map for Soulkey, but well, yeah, this is a weird situation.
To be fair, Saiyan, he does kind of have to make these zealots so that he can take his natural expansion safely, because Soulkey could just flood lings and come and deny this nexus from going up. It's not like he can just quickly build cannons down there to save it, so it does kind of make sense to go up to like, you know, 3 to 5 zealots initially and make sure he can help setting up this base here, because Soulkey could have already mined out this back wall and have some speedlings coming his way.
I guess that's a possibility. Snow, he's going to try and hop one of these. Oh, he's actually just going to mine this out first. He has enough money to take this Nexus, but he's not going to take it just yet. Quite a few Zealots here are going to be coming along on the bottom. Oh, he's actually going to hop them over the top. That's interesting. All right. Looks like he's kind of mastered this technique. He's going to be able to get these Zealots out, and he actually keeps both of these probes alive, too, so he will be able to get the Nexus down there pretty quickly. All right, 3 Zealots heading on this axis. 2 Zealots are going to head out on the top side, and Soulkey's gone for really quick 3 bases after this, with the gas coming online, the layers coming up as well. He's devoting a lot into this tech path and economy at the moment, and these Zealots coming out on the map he might not have an answer for this.
Yeah, it's really difficult to do what Snow's doing right now and using the gas geysers to hop over. It's a little bit more tricky than doing it with a mineral patch. He does use the other zealots to help body block and encourage that zealot out, so he does eventually get that second zealot out, but Soulkey had more than enough time to put a crazy amount of damage onto this first zealot that was heading out. He's going to try and distract Soulkey by sending down some zealots on the bottom and some on the top. Fortunately for Soulkey, though, he's chosen to take this top right pocket as his third, so these zealots coming down to the bottom lane will not be able to accomplish pretty much anything. So not really the most ideal situations here for Snow, and Soulkey with a Spire building is going to be looking to put a lot of pressure onto Snow soon.
Yeah, that Spire is going to be a real issue here. Snow fall back into that corner, trying to take the best possible trade he can while the probe makes its way into the main. Now this probe scout's actually quite big. Seeing everything here means he's going to be able to react accordingly, get this forge online. Will it be in time? That Spire is about to finish. Soulkey going to make some mutas. He's actually got the second gas online and had it online for quite some time. 500, 600 gas in the bank. There's a great chance he could go for a Mutalisk all in here and try to break open Snow once again.
Yeah, I'm just so blown away by how good Soulkey is as well. Like, it really is nuts that he's able to navigate, like, technically a failed 5-pull into game states like this. He's going to potentially shut down this scouting probe. It's living for the time being, but it's not long for this world with those additional links coming back from the natural now to shut that down. Does manage to, I think, barely see that macro hatchery, which is a pretty big deal for Snow. So we can be somewhat sure this isn't a complete all-in Ogre Zerg play from Soulkey here. He can start to optimize, but he will be needing to make at least 2 cannons at both locations. He's going for double Stargate. He's going for double Stargate.
He's identified that Spire, and he realizes what a pickle he's in right now. Ooh, as soon as the probe is gone, immediate Hydra Den plus Evolution Chamber starts for Soulkey. He will be switching into Hydras here pretty quickly, so maybe not a full commit into Mutas. Kind of showing the hand and then changing it immediately after Snow backs up. This could be insanely smart from Soulkey. If Snow fully commits into making a whole bunch of Corsairs here, he could be completely pulled apart by the Hydralisk play. Without enough Templar online early enough to actually deal with it, Snow could just fall apart. He sees it. He sees the double Stargate.
Ooh.
Dude, Soulkey is so good, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. This is a big mind game from Soulkey. He doesn't have to commit into an Ogre Zerg style at all. There's not even a third gas taken from him. So we probably will be seeing a more normal transition and instead just trying to throw out a mind game to Snow, who's trying to be aggressive with these Corsairs and harassing the 1 or 2 pairs of Scourges that are out on the map right now to see if he can get out onto the map to scout a little bit earlier than is necessary. Usually you're waiting for like 5 Corsairs with +1 before you start to come out, but he's being a tiny bit greedy. He'll be killing one of these Overlords a bit ahead of the schedule and supply blocking Soulkey, which is a small micro win for him.
This is one thing I can say about the position here for Soulkey is that this base way over in the top right, rallying those Hydras down into that bottom left or into this natural for Snow is going to be something else. Like, that's going to be a crazy long rally. And so, you know, Snow has the best possible chance of holding that. A Hydralisk attack that might be coming up here, but still, we might end up seeing this work pretty well for Soulkey. It's really Snow having the wool pulled over his eyes here. He's building a lot of cannons now. He kind of has to build a ton of cannons because he doesn't have the Templar cannon. He doesn't have the early Storm. Because of all this Corsair investment, he's really delayed that by a lot. And so Soulkey's going to take some map control. He's going to come over here and really threaten. Oh, great check there with the Scourge to get in front of those Corsairs and snipe a couple of them, taking out the one advantage here for Snow, which is that air control.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to keep these Corsairs alive so we can keep harassing the ever-living nightmare out of Soulkey and constantly putting on that pressure. He's trying to glitch out a High Dark Templar over to these Troy Gate geysers to see if he can put some pressure onto his third base location. hoping that there isn't anything up there to defend the drone line. There's a Spore to detect and 5 Hydras, so he will be able to deflect that DT, probably only sniping 1 or 2 drones if he wants to get the DT out alive. Could also check the natural expansion of Soulkey. Maybe play a little bit of distraction with these DTs and buy himself some time while he gets the rest of his tech online. Because he invested so much gas into this early double Stargate play, it just means everything else is so much slower here for Snow.
We do see quite a few spores being made by Soulkey. Now, these spores are a great idea. It's one of the... I'd like to address it, though. One of the things that I see most on my channel in terms of questions, or not even questions, but, you know, demands really from commenters saying, like, why don't these Zerg players make spores in response to the Corsair? Well, spores really don't do a good job of defending against Corsair, and they cost a drone as well, a lot of minerals. It's much better to just use Hydras to defend against them, or Scourge, but in a situation like this where you've seen the double Stargate, what you're really worried about is just having that detection. The DT is the big threat there, so as long as you have that permanent ground-based detection, that DT is never going to be able to get in, and you can only leave a few Hydras at each base, like 3-4 Hydras, just to deal with the DTs coming in.
Yeah, it's a very astute observation, saying that's exactly right. Has got some of these lurkers out on the map that are being bullied back by those Zealot linebackers, trying to prevent them from getting up to this 9 o'clock position desperately. If he does get a few hits on these lurkers, they will die to just 1 storm as well, so that does help him out on the trades. Here comes the probe transfer now. Has got a few storms available to him. Just now the cannons are finishing up. Soulkey going to target one of them on the bottom to prevent too much detection on that southern threshold. Going to snipe the other cannon as well, so these lurkers can get a little bit close up on here. Tries to snipe a High Templar. Can he get it? Not quite, with those spines on those Hydras. +1 upgrades on those at the moment. Yeah, so far so good for Snow. He's not getting bowled over by Soulkey's mind game in the start, and despite having a very slow tech transition due to the investment into Double Stargate and Corsairs, he is holding the line.
He's holding the line. He's even going to push back these lurkers here shortly. Looks like he's a little bit behind on his observer tech, so he can't quite do it just yet, but those will be online here shortly, and he can start to move towards this 4th base here as well. It's another game where the main base is going to be mining out pretty quickly. Nice snipes with this DT, catching some drone transfers. That's quite a big deal. He's really slowing down the drone adds here. The increase in those drones is going to be halted for the time being. Another base going online though for Soulkey. He is not slowing down. He's taking his foot and pressing it firmly to the floor as he accelerates into this late game.
Yeah, he knows that Snow is going to probably go quite deep on these 3 bases in terms of how much production he sets up, probably going all the way up into like 9 to 10 gateway worth. There's an Overlord that's making its way into the main base. I wonder if there's anything inside of that. Could it be like a lurker drop or something? You never know. You get some lurkers behind this mineral line in the natural. That might be a little bit annoying for Snow to have to deal with. Oh, it is going to be a lurker drop, saying.
Ooh, this lurker drop could do a lot. Oh, is he going to get any kills here? It's like 0 kills so far on this lurker. Has managed to pull back there at the end. He's going to send another lurker in, but definitely has some units in position now to deal with that. Very good play from Snow to shut this down. He's going to be able to put together his army now and start to push out on this map. He cannot allow his Soulkey to just take more and more of the bottom side of the map. He's already kind of ceded to him that top right corner and that right hand corner base, or that right side base, so he can't allow him to just keep growing over here, or he won't have anything left to take for himself.
But soon Snow can start defending by attacking and get this natural 4th online in a few moments, and put a lot of pressure onto this newly set up base from Soulkey. And it is pretty much just a battle Zerg Hydra lurker setup from him. So the longer the game goes on, the better it becomes for Snow. But for a short while, these critical flux of bases is going to be pretty insane for Snow to keep up with. But hold this phone, because Snow's actually killing quite a few of these Overlords in the top right. That's supply blocking Soulkey, and throwing lava in and lots of minerals into making overlords at this critical point in the game is not ideal for the Zerg here. It's going to be getting that hive online belatedly. Snow taking that 4th base like we were talking about, and he can defend it for a few moments and then go for an attack. And because he's attacking on this center vector, he is technically defending while doing so. He can start to funnel Soulkey into these tight, narrow corridors where Storm becomes exceedingly valuable. That's why Soulkey's spreading his lurkers preemptively and making sure only one lurker is going to be targeted by a Storm at a time. Looks like Soulkey maybe even considering never letting this base going up in the top right behind the Troy gates and making sure Snow doesn't get too greedy here. But it will be very difficult for Snow to take that base for the time being due to these 2 gas being killed earlier on. So Snow just going to attack on this center vector.
I think it'll be likely that neither player ends up taking that base this game.
Right.
Just because of the proximity to the Protoss main base and the difficulty of getting over those 2 Troy gates. So we're probably going to see a big fight here for the bottom left-hand corner of the map. There's 2 really high-value bases down there, and there's quite a bit of open area to battle for them as well. If Snow gets up on this high ground and kind of lords over this area, doesn't allow Soulkey to get up there, it's going to be hard for him to take over that position. He's starting to load up and drop some Hydras into this main. That's interesting. Ooh. There are quite a bit of cannons, though, set up preemptively for Snow. He's ready for this drop to start to go off. At the same time, he's going to start to push into this position, coming forward to trade with Soulkey. Soulkey doesn't have set up for a flank just yet, so these Dragoons getting up in range of the sunken colonies. Storm's going down on all this. He's actually breaking through quite nicely. Where's the counter from Soulkey? Where is he going to be hitting?
Snow, he's on the high ground already, saying he's waiting for Soulkey to go for this counter attack and try and prevent it from even occurring. He can't quite push the issue, though, on this center lane. Has to start pulling back. It's a really nice idea from Snow there. If only he had like 1 or 2 more High Templars on this other lane, on this high ground position, he might have been able to blanket all of those units a little bit better than he did. It was a really nice idea from Snow, but didn't quite get the execution necessary.
Great positioning there, but you're right. Soulkey manages to get up onto that high ground, threaten the counterattack, and now Snow has had to pull back. A little bit of a mistake there from Soulkey, sending some units into their death. Great storm there, hitting 3 of these lurkers, but this Observer is going to go down. The Observer does fall. Now he can't push forward any further. Snow just going to be forced to trade and back away once this storm energy is gone. He does need to reinforce this position because Soulkey's supply is getting massive.
Yeah, we do have that robotic support bay that went online a minute or so ago. Eventually, we'll be seeing a lot of Reavers from Snow. He's going to have to expand vertically and split the map in half that way, because he can't very easily get this other base set up in his natural, that the Troy gates destroyed like that. And Soulkey's going to be the one to maybe try and take that base. I did wonder if that would be a possibility, but Soulkey's going to maybe take this base here and play a little bit of sunken defense and put some sunkens and spores over there. He probably won't be able to mine the gas so easily, but he could at least make this very difficult for Snow to ever take.
Yeah, he might be able to make sunkens over there and such. Try to make that a point of contention. Darkstorm is going to be coming down here soon. Wait, does he not have Consume just yet? Some great storms on a lot of these units that were sitting at this point. There's the Consume. Going to drop the Darkstorm here on high ground. Goes down a storm and is starting to break through the position. Is Soulkey quick enough to bring lurkers into position to block this? Looks like he will get his lurkers over here just in time before this can all get up this high ground. We'll end up losing a lurker here, or excuse me, an Archon here on the low ground. +2/+2 is done. Still just the +1 armor for Soulkey, so going to be two-shotting those Lings with the Zealots, at least for the time being. Archon here playing point defense, keeping those Lings at bay for the time being. Still pushing forward. We don't have that Plague online just yet, so Soulkey can't do much more than just kind of hold his ground. He needs to wait for that big Plague spell to come online so he can start to soften up these units into more bite-sized chunks. Let's see if we can get that first good Plague on. Looks like it's not quite done yet.
Yeah, he made that Defiler amount around 17 minutes, so it should be finishing up in just a second here. Maybe the first Plague about to come online. Does snipe that Defiler, though, before that became a reality. I definitely think he has got Plague right now, and that was the first attempt at it, and was it unsuccessful? Here comes the second attempt at Plague. There's the first Plague of the game, getting like 3 old Dragoons and 1 Zealot. Not really the most cost-efficient of trades for Soulkey. Snow, meanwhile, getting this 5th base set up in that bottom left pocket of the map while continuously skirmishing with Soulkey. Soulkey's getting a tiny bit frustrated, wants to start wrapping around onto this high ground to the north to cut off the path of reinforcement and start to isolate Snow from skirmishing with him so efficiently. Soulkey doing a great job of breaking out. Now both players maxed out, and he's cutting off the path of retreat from Snow.
Getting off the path of the retreat, but he's giving a great target here for the army of Snow. Only 1 Darkstorm goes down. As soon as he gets rid of that 1 Lurker, he can actually push through a lot of this. He's still got plenty of Dragoons to fight with. It's like a lot of stuff moving forward right now for Soulkey on this bottom lane. That base that just went up for Snow is a bit under threat. This probe transfer might be ill-fated. Moving forward here with the Defiler once again. Here comes that Reaver as well. Finally, we're into the latest stages of this game. This started out as a 5 pool, let me remind you guys. 21 minutes in now, we've got Reavers out after this initial 5 pool. It's a kind of a crazy series so far.
Yeah, Korean Observer constantly checking for that Scarab damage upgrade. Hasn't yet been able to get it. Would be a nice upgrade to get right now, taking him all the way up to 125 damage per Scarab, not including Splash. We'll be able to trade efficiently versus the Zerg. The longer the game goes on, if you can split the map and you can get Reavers out all over the map, eventually this does become much more 50% favored to the Protoss to take the game in the super late phases. There's still got a bit of a mountain to climb though. Soulkey still maxed out and firing on all cylinders, all these bases. He's going to be hammering on the gates right now and trying to see if he can encroach on this position of Snow while also taking one of these other bases. Look at this, they're both expanding in the bottom left. This game is so neck and neck.
Yeah, it's a crazy game what we're seeing right now, and the Reavers are finally coming out. Great flag there, but not able to hit that Reaver in the back line. These Reavers do so much damage, able to 2-shot those Lurkers and just crush through this otherwise almost invincible unit under Dark Swarm. Can actually start to break through these positions and make it so hard for Soulkey to get any sort of a push going. Soulkey's actually going to rotate. Look at this other vector here. Maybe he can get on this base from Snow. This 4th base is a little bit more exposed. No Reavers over there just yet, but the first Reaver is crawling its way into position. Is he going to be able to get these big Reaver shots off to finish this? Yes, he will. Kills off those Lurkers. He does get the Plague on that, though. Critically going to soften up this Reaver for a later game snipe.
Yeah, even though you're mostly relying on Lurker Ling at this stage, you do need to pump out a few Hydras to start popping those Reavers like Zits. They are definitely going to be a nuisance for Soulkey. Needs to make sure he targets those down. Hydra's also extremely good at picking off those Archons as well. So the unit composition is going to be very interesting for both players. Soulkey going to try and press the issue down this center vector. Can he get on top of this natural 3rd mining base of Snow? It looks like the answer is yes so far. All of these probes are potentially going to die once that Nexus pops as well due to the encroachment of Lurkers. Snow going to try and counterattack to the center of the board and threaten Soulkey with some counterattacks and keep him scrambling for defense rather than reinforcing his attack. But he is going to be taking out that base in the center. Snow now back to 4 bases, or only 3 currently operational mining, and the natural's pretty much mined out. So it's essentially 2 bases worth of economy for Snow. So he's hanging on by a thread. Soulkey is slowly but surely Soulkey is slowly but surely bleeding Snow dry.
Snow's going to launch himself down into this bottom left corner. There is still a vector of escape. He could try to slip out over the bridge, back over towards his own location. But, dude, this army from Soulkey is just crushing. It's so big, man. 187 supply to just 142. Snow's not going to be able to get anything more than this, and he'll be lucky if he can get this hatchery and get out alive.
I mean, Snow was looking cold as an MF for quite a while, but now he's starting to melt under the pressure and heat. Soulkey is slowly draining him of any resources available. Does manage to take out this hatchery in the bottom left pocket to try and keep the hope alive. It's going to be a tall mountain for him to climb, though, in this game. He's currently behind in supply, and Soulkey's starting to push into this rally point now to cut off the path of reinforcements. The plagues have just been non-stop and monstrous on both fronts as well. Soulkey really giving us a masterclass in how to play Zerg versus Protoss, especially from the early game 5-pool play. Just absolutely exceptional Zerg execution thus far.
Oh yeah, for sure. Soulkey putting on a masterclass here. A couple more storms will delete this lurker attack into the natural, and so he will reopen those lanes of reinforcement down here to the bottom left. Can Snow try to hold this base down here? It seems like an impossible task with how well Soulkey's been playing. He's going to be able to shut down this mining, I assume, with just a couple of well-placed storms. It's just Soulkey, he's got so much. He has so much. He's completely maxed. It's crazy what he's been able to pull together.
Yeah, I mean, Soulkey is technically going to be on only 3 mining bases for a little while, so there's a tiny glimmer of hope here for Snow. Soulkey had a few drones up in this base that's being isolated away from Snow behind those Troy gates that were eliminated, so there's not that much economy for Soulkey at the present setting of the game. There is a teeny tiny glimmer of hope for Snow. If he just keeps trading out efficiently, maybe he can get one of these bases set up again, especially this natural 4th location where these zealots are right now. If he can get that base up online again, he can still make this work, but it's going to be a tall order. Here comes another round of units from Soulkey. So many defilers getting targeted, but they do live for the time being. It's a very narrow corridor to attack into, so with Reavers, with Storms, and some Archons, there is still hope of Snow holding the line. Beautiful plague, though, coming out on that train of zealots reinforcing from the north. Soulkey is making it work, slowly but surely. Plague coming down onto that entrenched Reaver as well at this last bastion of hope for Snow.
Snow has to hold this base, and Soulkey's put together a monstrous army. The army of Mordor here pushing forward. He is a Sauron zerging him to death right now. So many units being funneled into this tight location. The Reaver did fall there a moment ago, and that's really the linchpin of this defense. He needed that Reaver to try and keep himself alive. Another round of Zealots makes his way down. He is going to be able to surround a lot of these lurkers, actually holding on again, keeping all of this alive. But another round of Lynx making its way forward. A storm on that Defiler. He tries to pick that off, but it is going to be able to drop back, take another a couple of bites out of some of these Lings and get a few more spells out here. More and more lurkers, dude. This is ultimate Sauron Zerg style from Soulkey, overwhelming this position. It looks like he's gonna break this base.
I mean, this is absolutely wild. I feel like I'm watching a Lord of the Rings UMS map or something of how back and forth the siege has been between these two players. But Soulkey is going to break that base slowly but surely. Helm's Deep is going to fall, and there's no way of sallying out. And there's definitely no Riders of Rohirrim coming over the hill to save the day with Gandalf leading the charge. I think this is over for Snow.
Snow is looking for anything he can do right now with these tiny little bits of army that are left over. Lings are going to completely surround these few remaining Archons, and this tiny army is going to fall. It cannot break through a large lurker line, which Soulkey has in spades. So many of these have been plagued, and here comes the final engagement. Lings coming from all sides to clean this up.
That High Templar might as well be Gandalf right now, but he's certainly not going to have the same level of potency or leadership. Soulkey does look like he's going to be the one tying up this series 2-2 right now. There's just not enough left in the engine of Snow. He's in his death throes currently, just contemplating the game, thinking about the next one. GG finally confirmed, and this series all tied up. Soulkey clenching his fists. He knows that was a very important victory to reset the tempo of this series and get his mojo back.
My God. How do these guys... I almost have to go lie down, Xun. This is crazy. I can't imagine the stress. I can't
Oh my
imagine the
days.
stress.
Crazy saying. I'm just glad we get to bring you these great games, guys. What a treat it is to be the one casting ASL alongside Saiyan and just absolutely devour the content. My eyes are locked in. I don't even think I blinked during most of these games, to be fair to you. Like, it's just, if you do blink, you might miss something.
Soulkey not missing a beat in that game, man. From the very beginning, hitting with that 5 pull, he completely threw Snow's game plan out the window. He just shut it down. He's like, I don't want to know what you practice for this map. I don't even want to have an idea. I don't even want to let you get that off the ground. Immediately 5 pooling, getting in there and cleaning out those assimilators, shutting down any hope of a counterattack, and then following up with a great long macro game. You'll love to see it. That was a lot of fun, guys. Very reminiscent of some of their older ASL matchups.
Yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, we are casting this live on souplive.com/SCTVEN. Go over there and show us some love if you can, especially in that finals match that's going to be coming. We're going to go to a little bit of a short break here. I know both of these players definitely need one after that crazy game that started off as being a 5 pool. Who knows what's going to happen in the rest of this series? We'll be right back, guys. Grab some popcorn, grab some beers. You're going to need it.
Okay, guys, we are back. I don't know if I'm ready, Shun. Are you ready?
I was born ready to do this, and I've been waiting a long time in my life. I remember watching ASL as a little kid, and the Kesper era was just crazy for me. Those OSLs, MSLs. It's been a long time coming, but somehow the stars have aligned, and we've ended up in the caster booth this time around. I remember watching, Klazar, SC, Diggity, and all those guys, even Sale back in the day. There's been so many casters over the ages of this great, great game, and we get to do it this time around.
It's fantastic. I could use another 2 minutes, though. I'll be honest. I'm sure these guys
Well,
could
you're not
use a
going to
little
get it
more time
saying
too.
because we are jumping straight into it. ASL Season 19 Snow versus Soulkey. We're all tied up 2-2. And the next map, Deja Vu. Let's get it, guys.
Snow spawning over here in the top right. Soulkey top left. These guys have got to be tired out, but they're going bang for bang, hitting back at each other over and over. We're 2 for 2, blow for blow in this series so far. This is better than we could have possibly hoped for, Xun.
Oh, absolutely saying. Let's just use the tiny amount of time we have. Oh, Snow's going to throw his probe out onto the map right away and be like, no. Okay, I think it's just going to be a pile on the natural, though. Nothing crazy here. But yeah, let's just have a quick moment to shout out some of the OGs, like especially Viletak. I mean, you guys know, if you've been around following this scene for 20, 25, 30 years, similar as I have, you guys know all about the ancient casters that were carrying the foreigner torch and keeping the English commentary alive for so long. And it really is a pleasure to be here alongside Saiyan now, bringing you guys this action. We are truly blessed and internally grateful. I feel so humbled by the experience overall.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you, Xun. I've been watching this game, and it was really Viletak that got me into it initially. And just a quick shout out to Nyoken as well, who carried the torch here on StarCastTV for such a long time. We're getting into this game, guys. We got the Forge out and a overpool now. Pretty standard stuff from Soulkey finally. Pulling out a normal game here for us.
And Snow looking for a potential cannon rush, though, with that slightly earlier Forge. He's going to scout with a double probe. Both protects him from any kind of 9-pool shenanigans, like 5-pool shenanigans. And also going to be looking for a potential hatchery first to punish with those initial probes and the early timing. Not going to find it, though. Now he knows it's overpool. Just going to instead be throwing down that Nexus. He knows there's very unlikely that the Lings could get to him on time. As long as you're starting this cannon right around the time the Lings are starting to hatch and run down their ramp, you will get that finished up. And with some good blocking with the probe, even if it was an earlier pool, you can still be okay.
Once again, with the Forge positioning here, Snow's optimizing for a potential Hydralis bust from Soulkey, where he would be able to protect that Forge. It's going to have the gateway a little bit further to the left. It's going to be a bit more exposed, but you can place a cannon on the top of the Forge and the bottom of the Forge in order to protect that fully. Make sure you can get that online. Great blocking here so far from Snow, but Soulkey will get that online, albeit a bit behind schedule.
Yeah. I mean, we did see some crazy probe micro from Snow in game number 1. I imagine he's a little bit too exhausted to go as ham as he did in that game number 1 with the harassment, but still going to be doing anything he can to disrupt Soulkey here. There is 8 Zerglings, I think, total that he could try and go for a run by. There's only one cannon. If he doesn't body block with a probe or wait for this Zealot to get out, there is a chance that Soulkey could make something happen, but he's mainly concerned with finding this probe and trying to get us around on it. Oh, additional Zerglings coming out from Soulkey. If Snow's not ready for this and blocking with a probe while waiting for these Zealots to come out, he's going to be in a world of trouble.
Oh, no. Snow! No! Pull the probes! Oh my gosh, he's got them pretty well. That's a pretty good block. He might be okay here. He's going to lose the cannon. Oh, 3 HP.
3 HP. One more hit from those claws would have spelt disaster. What a clutch hold from Snow. Perfect reaction time. This is the only way that StarCraft is anything like FPS games in terms of having quick reactions. He just barely clutched saving that cannon despite being greedy, not having a probe ready to block that. Luckily for Snow, he's going to be able to try and hold the line. He got the Zealots and probes in the walls. Soulkey, though, going to do a 9-7-3 follow-up with some more additional links to arrive. 5. He might need to pull the probes yet again if Soulkey does pull the trigger on trying to break open that wall by targeting down the probes manually. He doesn't necessarily have to do that, though. He could just drone up and get that 973 going and use these Zerglings just to stop any scout out from those Zealots and coming out and checking what's what. And we'll make it harder for him to optimize the cannon timings until that Corsair can confirm everything.
We'll have those 2 Zealots in the wall now. That probe can get back to work, and that's a solid wall. You're not getting through there with Lings. And this Hydralisk follow-up, it could be strong. Considering that cannon is so low, maybe he can get a quick snipe on that, but otherwise, it's going to be tough to get in here, man. Already quite a few Zealots, and there's a second cannon with a third about to get started here. This is a very good position for Snow to hold. It doesn't mean he's going to win this game. We've already seen Soulkey transition some pretty wild early game starts into a really nice long macro game and take it from there, but this is still a great spot for him. Yeah, we got 4 drones over at this third base location, but not so many in the natural currently. So if this Corsair does run all the way to the third to check first, which he might do, he might see 5 drones over there and think, oh, this isn't a 973. Now he's correctly, though, going to be checking the natural first, which is a good idea from Snow to avoid any kind of possible mind games. There's only 5 drones mining the natural and 5 or 6 at the third to kind of throw him up a little bit. So he will be able to identify that really quickly and start to throw down the necessary cannons to prevent too much disaster here. We'll have to see if Soulkey wants to fake this and go into a transition, or whether or not he wants to commit to a full-on cannon bust, knowing that that cannon on the top left is really low HP. He sees drones popping. That's a big scout for for Snow. He sees that there is indeed a transition coming, some sort of fake Hydralisk bust, and the building placement. This is what that building placement was all about. What I was talking about earlier. Having those cannons for... I can't believe he canceled that cannon. Oh my gosh.
Balls
You're
of steel.
so crazy.
Balls of steel.
You're so crazy. That cannon has 3 HP. He's going to sit here on 4 cannons.
I mean, the funny thing about it is Soulkey has got these Hydras pinned back because of the Corsairs, but he's now going to be sending out those additional Hydras to reinforce. I hope those Corsairs can identify that those Hydras have left the building and will be joining Elvis in trying to have a party in Snow's natural right now. With only those 4 cannons and one of them on seriously low HP, Soulkey could bust through this. He has to be seriously careful here and pull probes and start making more cannons. If Soulkey does pull the trigger on that 3 HP cannon is going to pop so fast. Soulkey trying to dive in a little bit here. Good screening from the Zealots to buy some efficient time necessary and potentially getting that other cannon online. He will lose at least one of those cannons. That low HP cannon dies extremely fast. The one on the bottom now is starting to be targeted by Soulkey. He wants to get a tactical snipe on those cannons so he can get a kill on that forge before the upgrade is finished. It's not that long from being done, but maybe Snow can still slow down this Hydra bust long enough that he can't cancel that upgrade. And I do think it just finished, so not the best situation for Soulkey. He's now going to have to just commit to a straight up Hydra bust. He's going to go all the way up into 5 hatchery weather production. Let's see how many cannons Snow wants to make. It's going to be a little bit of threading the needle here for Snow and how many cannons he makes relative to the gateway. He's already got a lot of gateway production in the main base, so he's okay to throw down a few additional cannons right now just to stabilize. He's got a lot of production in the main base to work with and pump out a lot of rounds of Zealots.
We do have an evolution chamber on the way. That layer is done. 5th hatchery coming online. Dude, it's crazy how close that was, and he didn't even pull those probes. Snow, absolute balls of steel, man. This guy, he's got the cojones. Holy, Snow gonna hang
cojones. On. Yeah, it's kind of wild. He's got that 5 gateway production online in the main base. That's the bare minimum right now. You can either try and take a 3rd base with like 6 gateway production or go all the way up into 8, 9 gateway and do a 2 base timing. So far though, middle of the road play from Snow. Not wanting to make too many gateways just yet in case he needs to throw down more cannons. He's scouting out everything with those Corsairs, checking how many drones are being made. Now he knows it's safe to start throwing down some additional gateways after seeing that Soulkey is in full transition mode. Gonna see if he can get onto the map with these speed Zealots as well, and maybe do a wraparound on some of those Hydras and pin those down and get some trades off. So far so good for Snow. He's gonna be able to take out this Overlord here and get some of these Hydras killed before they can run to safety. It's pretty good initially. There is definitely a critical mass of Hydras to fight this, so Snow has to be careful and manually control these Zealots to keep surrounding individual Hydras and force Soulkey on the back foot. You can't just manually attack move into those Hydras and hope for the best. Once they reach a high enough count, you do have to really manually control these Zealots.
Got to get him right up on top of these and start to surround. He will get right in the mix here, but it seems like there's a few too many Hydras now. These Zealots are starting to melt. Some good target fire from Soulkey will push these back for the time being. That's quite a few Templar, but we're going to see a big Mutalisk swell here from Soulkey soon, I think. He's going to be relying on his layer-based play. Are we going to see a Dark Archon? Unlikely, I'd say, but he is preparing for these mutas, and he is making more Corsairs. So as long as he's got the Corsair... No, he's actually stopped on Corsairs, excuse me.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if...
9 gates.
Yeah, this is going to be a little tough. If there's like 10 mutas come out, 11 mutas come out, he starts to snipe Templar, that could really go in Soulkey's favor pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And he has got that third gas online, but look at this DT. He's going to scout this third gas critically. Like, he won't be able to do any damage with that DT, but just identifying that there's a third gas that is being mined from right now is a big tell for Snow. It's very unlikely that Soulkey's going to rush a massive flood of lurkers early game in this situation, unless he was thinking about a contain. But with the early committal into those Hydra forces and trying to, you know, do a lot of damage to Snow and then transitioning with a lot of drones, it's very difficult to do everything at once as Zerg. So the lurkers will be mostly defensive for the time being. He can try and set up a contain with those, but it's a little bit of a gamble. And if you do fail in setting up that contain, you're kind of on the back foot, at least for most of the mid-game stage after the fact. And Snow with these 9 gateways can power up to a lot of units by about 11-12 minute mark, and then start to just go for a massive timing and try and punish Soulkey.
What are all these overlords doing over here? Don't tell me there's some sort of drop play coming from Soulkey. I was expecting maybe that Soulkey was gonna hold this high ground outside of Snow's natural and try to snipe observers as they come out, but it seems like there's no observer here at all. Oh my gosh. Wait, is he on hold position? Oh,
he's
man,
gonna find
hold
those
position
with those
lurker.
Corsairs.
Hold position lurker.
Oh, he storms! That storm is so huge. All 3 of those lurkers are like 1 HP. Just one phase disruption shot will finish them off unless they can heal up for a few beats. Snow needs to be careful not to overstay his welcome. He is staying on the periphery and not going too deep with this committal. Now he's starting to pull the trigger and attacking in. He could see some devastating damage. Those lurkers want to target the High Templars until he can guarantee a kill on those High Templars with those lurker spines. He doesn't, but there he goes. First High Templar bites the dust. Is exactly what Soulkey was looking for. Like a spider in the web, waiting to spring the trap. Does manage to isolate that one critical tech unit. Now going to try and cut off the path of retreat as best as he can and pick off those slow-moving High Templars from behind while flanking from the north with an arm of Hydra Lurker. Can Soulkey go all the way and take out this army of Snow? So far, though, Snow's macro seems pretty strong, and he's getting a third base behind this as an insurance policy. Soulkey might rotate around to try and get a tactical snipe on that. Snow has to be quick.
Ooh, we had a big storm off screen there to the south of that battle. Killed a lot of Hydras of Soulkey, and now he's still trying to bounce back and forth between the third and the natural. Snow is matching him in that, and he will have that third base online here pretty soon. Moving forward with observers now. He's got Soulkey on the back foot, and he's in the midst of making lurkers at the moment. All Snow needs to do is park his army at this location right here and make sure that Soulkey doesn't get a 4th base. Meanwhile, we're going to have a drop come in. Maybe Soulkey can get a big kill on a whole bunch of these probes at the natural. There's such a high saturation at that base. That could be absolutely devastating.
I hope Snow reacts quickly in time, but I love this play from Soulkey. It's such a nice idea. This is the kind of thing I would do in some of my versus Protoss games. Let's see if Snow can notice it and react in time. He's not quite pulling the trigger on it just yet. Here comes some devastating snipes from Soulkey, ripping through that probe line. Oh, that's like so many probes. That's like 15 probes or something. That's insane. That's devastating damage. It's lucky that Snow has this third base, so he might just just be in absolute disarray right now. Soulkey kind of evening out the power scaling by that maneuver. They're now Snow kind of desperate to get some trades going and skirmishing at the rally point of Soulkey to make up for that deficit.
He's still got a giant army, but he doesn't have the defenses over at this third base. This lurker attack could be really devastating. Oh my gosh, is Snow gonna react to this? Dude, he's moving his army right now. He's gonna start to lose probes. Probes aren't going down. This is some great play from Soulkey. He's pushing everything back and really limiting the economy of Snow right now.
Yeah, I don't think Snow is that well prepared in dealing with these little small lurker drops as he should be. Maybe not getting enough practice games against that. This position's a little bit hard to re-secure. He will be able to do so, though, eventually. The Overlord just barely surviving with 1 HP. Gonna see if he can shuffle in one more of those lurkers in the main base while distracting Soulkey by hitting this natural yet again. There's a lurker making its way into the main base. Luckily, there's a cannon in good enough position to prevent that from being too much of a problem. Dragoons trying to get up there with an observer to take that out. Is killing some of those gas probes. Soulkey currently supply blocked due to the commitment with these Overlords, so that's some small compensation for Snow, but Soulkey's done such a good job of hitting the economy of Snow while macroing up back at home.
This is so much damage, guys. So much damage has actually been done. He's blocking him from mining here in the natural for a crazy amount of time as well. The army is still huge. Oh, this drop. Oh, it's crazy. He's done so much damage with that as well. Has to use 2 storms to get rid of it. This is a huge army now. Soulkey gonna completely surround and attack into this. How is this gonna go? Diving on top. These storms are absolutely insane, crushing so many of these lurkers, and storms over on the left-hand side as well. Oh my god. Okay, a counterattack actually might just win now.
That was crazy. The storms were clutch. Soulkey is in a little bit of trouble. If Snow finds the kahunas like he's definitely had in the past of the game, to just pull the trigger on attack right now and go all the way into the rally point of Soulkey, he can make it work. He's going to the center of the board first. See if he can get up there. Soulkey also going to do a little bit of counterattack of his own. Wrap around, kill some of these High Templars from their flank. Another beautiful blankets of storms on those lurkers that are clumped up. There's so many packs of Hydras, but with just a few good storms, he can definitely chew through this Zerg force, and he has got that prerequisite of like 2.5 control groups worth of Dragoons as the main battle force here for the Protoss to keep skirmishing and hold the line against any attempts from Soulkey. And there's no 4th base. It's still Lair Tech. He's on battle Zerg mode, trying to get some good trades and is able to do so. Corsair's going to be screening the Overlord from coming in and going for round 2 on some harassment as well. This is definitely favoring Snow in this position, quite largely saying.
Yeah, that would be a round 3, in fact. There's so many drops have gone off in this game. So much economic damage has been done, but Snow's army here is undeniably massive. And these Dragoons, there's not a really good answer to this many Dragoons. And generally at around this time, you're going to be getting those Defilers out and start to have the Dark Swarm. So having all these Dragoons becomes more of a hindrance than a benefit. But right now, Snow, he just has so much firepower with this army. The storms are going to deal the initial brunt of damage, and then the Dragoons are going to be able to clean up whatever is left over. Is being pulled this way and that by Soulkey's army, but he's not getting another base online. Soulkey is not expanding and growing. He's running out of money, and so Snow is fine to just sit here and keep building Templar. He just keep adding Templar to this army, and that Dragoon ball is going to remain incredibly strong.
Yeah, Soulkey was diving in there to snipe the observers. He killed 2 on the left, 1 on the right. So there's only 4 observers total, and he killed 3 of them, making it harder for Snow to commit to any attack. So he's buying time indirectly by keeping the observer count as low as possible, so that line of lurkers will be formidable as a defense to work with. But it doesn't matter if he doesn't get a 4th base online. He's going to try and do a tactical snipe on this observer as well. Does manage to get that to make it a little bit more annoying for Snow here to deal with that. Does luckily manage to clean up that 1 lurker with a storm, so it's pretty good for him, honestly. Like, now he can take a 4th base, and Soulkey doesn't really have a good answer to this. He has to do maneuver warfare and try and pull Snow apart and spread him thinly and make him defend this 4th while trying to do some snipes on High Templars from the flanks, maybe come into this 12 o'clock pocket and take out that natural 3rd base if he could. But so far, Snow doing a great job of dotting his I's, crossing his T's, and not really leaving anything up to chance, and is covering all of his bases.
This army looks fearsome, but a few well-placed storms and those phase disruption shots can absolutely slice through this army. A lot of lurkers here in a big stack. Gonna be driven back by these Dragoons. And uh-oh, wait a second. Hold on, Snow. Those are that army should be down here helping out these Templar to keep this base alive. He actually made a big mistake there, letting those walk into a big clutch of Hydras. Will be able to clear out most of this. Looks like he is going to be losing that Nexus, though.
This is exactly the maneuver warfare style that Soulkey was going for. We were talking about just waiting for one tiny mistake and misstep from Snow and just pouncing on it. Does slow down that base from coming online and keeping his own hopes alive. Still doesn't yet have that high finished or a 4th base of his own to write home about. So it's still not over yet for Soulkey. He's still going to have to get a drone down into this. He's going to take the 6 o'clock as his 4th base and try and hide that from Snow for a time being. There's a DT that's patrolling in the bottom left. If he doesn't identify that Soulkey's even going for a 4th base, it will make it tricky in navigating, dealing with that. And also he has to go all the way in that position to get his army down there. Soulkey also losing some units in the center of the board right now. Snow has such a powerful army, but leveraging it is going to be difficult. If he commits to coming down here and stopping this 4th come online, Soulkey can then start to launch attacks on the rest of his expansions and kind of pull Snow apart and make it difficult to commit the right composition of units on either flank.
Surprised we're only at 1-2 here for Snow. One of the big advantages of having this composition against something like what Soulkey's doing is eventually you're going to get way ahead in upgrades. Soulkey is just going to be stuck on 2, possibly getting into 2 armor as well. That's a very nice storm right there. Damn. But still not continuing these upgrades right now. Maybe Snow kind of missing out on that. This has been such a chaotic game and things are coming so down to the wire. He may never get to that 3-3. Okay, +2 just finished. That's kind of a big moment here. That is a huge upgrade advantage now. 2 full upgrades ahead of the Zerg player.
And Soulkey's just now becoming mined out on his main and natural. Snow's been mined out for a little bit longer, so he's down on 1 base worth of economy until this 4th base is set up over at the 3-4 o'clock position. He needs to get a probe transfer over there desperately. That's why he's currently staying in the center of the board with his army, covering these 2 flanks, making sure he protects that probe transfer and stops Soulkey from being able to come up into that natural 3rd location. Pretty good target firing here from Soulkey on some of these High Templars, limiting the utility and splash available to Snow in these upcoming fights. Soulkey, despite having a very belated 4th base and no hive tech, still might be in this game. He's getting the probe transfer down into that 6 o'clock pocket as well. Meanwhile, starting a big surround, wrapping around from the center, trying to get on top of the rally point of Snow now. He needs beautiful storms to hold this off. Soulkey with some good storm dodging, trying to dive in and get some good trades. That's a beautiful storm on the center though. Well held from Snow, racing ahead in supply, currently eclipsing him in a ratio of 2-1 as Soulkey loses all of his drones down at that 6 o'clock pocket as well.
Dude, this is insane. Snow is breaking through everything. He's holding on and is smashing that base at 6 o'clock. And there it is, GG.
He's done it.
My God. Snow
3-2,
takes the lead again. Unbelievable. What a treat we're having today, guys. What a beautiful gift of a PvZ series this has turned out to be.
By the way, those are definitely coughs, but I'm still going to say that's him going like, like a warrior chant after every time he wins. He needs to psych himself up.
Like a D2 barbarian.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He's got that battle orders, buffing up his HP, making sure he can weather the storm against anything that the swarm throws his way. And look at that happy camper picture in the background. He might just make it happen. He's on match point right now. Soulkey needs to win 2 games in a row. So that means there's some oxygen now for Snow to kind of collect himself and realize that it doesn't matter. We're getting some pictures there of Snow with one of his lovely kids. He is a dad and is still able to dedicate so much time to practice. This man has it all. He's able to pour in his heart and soul into this game while having a family behind it all. I mean, what a guy.
That goal of taking home an ASL title has been working towards it for such a long time, a culmination of so many hours of practice, dedication, hard work. He's insanely close to making it to yet another finals, and his nemesis, the guy who's been taking him out year after year, season after season, Soulkey, is just one game from being knocked out. Oh my goodness, this is so amazing, Xun. We're gonna go into
Soulkey's
Polestar. Look at him.
Soulkey's tilted, man. He might do it. This is Snow's pick on Polestar.
This is a really good map for Protoss versus Zerg. We're going to jump straight into it, guys. ASL Season 19. Snow versus Soulkey. He's currently 3-2 up. Can he make it happen? It's his map pick. It's Polestar. Let's get it, guys.
Snow spawning top right, Soulkey bottom left. Dude, Snow looking cold as ice, man. He is
So impressed.
absolutely locked in today, and Soulkey is throwing his head side to side. He's looking a bit tilted in this series right from the get-go, in fact, but he's been playing a magnificent series so far.
Everything's just going right for Snow. This is exactly my original analysis, that Snow needs to get under the skin of Soulkey while also maintaining his own composure, and that 30% win condition suddenly turns into a 60-70%, and this is Polestar. It's so hard to play Zerg versus Protoss on this map, especially at the pro level. This natural third gas is so easy to hold, so many tight chokes for Soulkey to have to attack into. You can do a little tactical lurker drop behind those natural thirds with how close it is to the main base, like on Polypoid. But besides that, there's a lot for Snow to work with here.
This cross map situation, we could be seeing another insanely long game, Xun.
Yeah.
Of course, it may be Soulkey's choice to go for yet another bust attempt. He's tried it over and over again, though, and Snow has just parried these so well in the series so far. Maybe he wants to just completely forget about that style and go for his really late game strategy. He seems so powerful once he really gets that macro engine going.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I hope Snow's got a drink or something, because he is coughing a little bit here. I hope he doesn't literally choke on stage right now. That'd be a bit of a shame. He's going for another 11 Forge to both be safe against any kind of early pull shenanigans, but also giving a potential of a cannon rush if Soulkey decides to be greedy. So taking a small economic deficit of his own to make sure he's super safe and able to punish any greed of Soulkey, keeping him locked into the overpull opening every single game here. Probe trying to put a lot of damage onto one of those drones. Wasn't able to get the chase into the mineral line to finish that off. But it's going to be able to optimize, especially with cross map position, on getting a Nexus before cannon and catching up despite going for the early forge.
He's going to have this cannon on time here. Soulkey. Got a few lings going across the map, but he hasn't figured out exactly where Snow is just yet. And so he will just be wrapping around, bringing these lings to bear, chasing the probe, and getting this third base online. I feel like Soulkey should go into a late game. it's
Right.
far be it from me to tell Soulkey what to do or say what he should do, but his Defiler play was looking so good. Every time we've seen it, he's just been doing amazing with the Defiler and the crackling, the way that he's able to macro. Dude, he just crushes with that late game style.
Yeah, no, he is one of the best late game users in the entire game. It's crazy. Maybe Action has slightly better Defiler control than him in some situations, but overall, Soulkey is the absolute king of dealing out lots of plagues and macroing on all cylinders, despite having to focus so hard on the execution of making those trades go his way. He absolutely is the best in the business, but he's kind of been stubborn and trying to keep the range of play as wide as possible with those more mid-game centric battle Zerg mode styles. Deja Vu is very difficult to take a 4th base on as Zerg. That's why he went for it. Let's see if he's going to be a little bit more greedy in this game and be more macro-centric and get an early 4th and Hive online. I think it's extremely likely, but also an Ogre Zerg gamer mode could be coming down from Soulkey. We'll have to see if he goes for that fast free gas or not.
Probe trying to stay alive as long as possible, get a little bit more information, try to figure out what's going on here. Would like to loop back around in front of this natural, at the very least see what's coming out of the natural. If he can't make it in to get all the information, he at least wants to see that there's not a whole bunch of lings pouring out here. Check on that speed timing as well. Sees that there's still no speed just yet. Still sending those zealots out. But looks like he's going to loop back around. Possibly just head right back into the natural here without going all the way across the map.
Yeah, I think both players must be so exhausted, both physically and mentally right now. But out of the two, Snow definitely seems the most locked in. And if he can maintain that composure and not allow Soulkey to calm down and get back into his ebb and flow again, this could be the match point that Snow needs to go all the way. And this is a really good map for Protoss if he can, turn this into a more macro game. He's so desperate on stopping this probe scout getting in here. Snow is being so annoying with this right now and forcing Soulkey to completely surround that with all of the Zerglings. That means all of the Zerglings are pinned back on Soulkey's side of the map, and he gets a bit of intel on how many drones have been made relative to the Zerglings, and he can start to optimize his own defenses back at home and know that there's no craziness he has to really prepare for, and can just make one single Corsair to go out across the map, confirm that there's nothing insane coming his way like a 4-hatch Hydra or something, and he will be pretty okay optimizing going forth. He is coughing a lot, Snow. Please tell me he's got a drink beside him.
Soulkey adding on these extra hatches. It does appear to be a more macro-centric play as he gets these Scourge out and quickly progresses into this 5-hatchery play. Snow scouting everything, is not going to get too much damage going on these Overlords. That Spire is about to finish. Looks like maybe one. No, he's not even going to get the one Overlord. This is some really solid Zerg play. What we're seeing out of Soulkey right now is hitting that, walking that fine line of making just enough lings to prevent Snow from moving out with these zealots and doing any damage, and getting that Spire up right at the correct time to make sure that these Corsairs don't do any damage, and getting out as many drones as possible between those.
Yeah, Snow circumnavigating disaster, running that Corsair away from that pair of Scourge that was getting critical scouting information inside the main base. Here comes the first round of mutas from Soulkey. We'll have to see if he wants to commit fully into this. He's only got 2 gases out of the potential 3, so not yet fully committing to anything super insane. Just wants to potentially snipe some probes and screen the Corsairs with a pair of Scourge. Hasn't yet pulled the trigger on anything like that. DT is also out here for Snow. Soulkey's going to see that with the Zerglings and now be a tiny bit more on the back foot, wanting to make sure there's no possibility of that DT doing critical damage to his infrastructure back at home. So Soulkey will now return to the defensive.
Soulkey with the 6 hatchery and the extra gas coming online. We're going to see a 4th base here in another couple of minutes. For now, just adding on those extra drones, getting his way up to that 45 drone count. He hasn't been forced to build a lot of sunken colonies here, not feeling a whole lot of pressure out of Snow, and so he's been able to take some liberties with this build, get those extra drones out a lot quicker, and he will be progressing in this game much more smoothly than what you would regularly see in one of your latter games. Generally speaking, it's much more common to see, 2 sunken colonies with this early Mutalist play, just to make sure at each base to make sure that you're not going to die to a Zealot timing. But Soulkey's really walking this fine line nicely to make sure that he's got as many drones as possible, as quickly as possible, so he can grab that base. Look, 4th base at 8:40. This guy is really going to be cranking out huge amounts of units.
Looks like Snow himself going to be going up, I think, to 9 gateways total. So could be going for a 2-base timing of his own to try and punish this 4th base of Soulkey. We'll have to wait and see if he wants to go all in. Ooh, that's so hard to do. Snow makes it look easy, though, with that manual move command, turnaround micro with the Corsairs. One of the hardest micros in StarCraft to execute and be confident enough in doing so. Snow, though, so handsome of a nerd and makes it look all the more easy for you guys back at home to start practicing yourselves. But I promise you, if you try and do it, it will not go so smooth.
No, absolutely not. That's incredible micro, but we see Snow pulling off those type of moves all the time in KCM. This guy, he was the first one I saw actually pull that off successfully, and kind of putting these other players to shame with that incredible skill. You think that microing Valkyries is hard, you Terran players. Imagine microing these Corsairs. You don't even know. This stuff is extremely difficult. And now Snow is going to be moving forward. Is it time to take a 3rd base, or is it time to go for a full-on attack? Soulkey just made a big wave of drones, and these gateways have finally come online. He may go ahead and put down a Nexus behind this, but I think he's going to start to go across the map.
Yeah, I think we're setting up for a big, strong 2-base timing attack here for Snow. He's got the Robo on the way as well in case lurkers slow him down. Soulkey has a pretty strong force on the center of the board, trying to bait out some storms and dodge all the way back to his defensive line. See if he can buy some time, but there is a pretty sizable force for Snow to attack with. Not that many High Templars, so he has to be careful that he doesn't get any of these sniped or whiffs any of his storms. That's a pretty okay storm. As long as he gets some value with each storm, he can make this work. But look at that massive swell of lurkers starting to hatch, though. There will not be any observers here for quite some time, so we'll have to instead just skirmish with Soulkey, kill some of these overlords with these Corsairs, and kind of just shark around the map, and now set up to take that natural 3rd location on the right-hand side. I doubt he's going to take 12 o'clock as his 3rd.
Moving forward here, looking for a engagement. Man, those lurkers are really stacked up. Oh boy, really gotta unburrow those quickly and get them into position. Fortunately for him, Snow is not ready with the storm to immediately drop on top of all of those lurkers. He doesn't have that observer out here just yet to fully engage with this. Metas are going to come up here to try and punish this 3rd base, but immediate response from the Corsairs is looking fantastic. Walking into another round of lurkers here. Soulkey just has everything locked down, and we're going to be seeing incredibly quick hive here, I think, from Soulkey. He's going to go up to those 60 workers extremely fast and really start to hammer out these lings and lurkers, defilers, and hydras.
Snow must be thinking about a double expand to be taking the 12 o'clock, so I think we're going to see another. Yeah, he's going to take double expansion behind this. That's a very good choice from Snow. I thought maybe just a 3rd base insurance policy, but he is going to go ahead and double expand here instead of being reliant on trading with the Zerg. Does need to be careful, though. We got even supply currently. Soulkey is so good at macroing, but this double expansion effort from Snow might be just the ticket that he needs to survive that mid to late game transition. Gonna be putting some more pressure onto Soulkey, pushing down on this vertical access right towards that 6 o'clock position, trying to storm him into oblivion if he can. He's ready to try and send Soulkey into the Shadow Realm at a moment's notice. If he doesn't pay attention to storm dodging, oh, he does lose one of those high energy Templars though. A little bit problematic for Snow. Also getting some of his units stopped in their track on the northern flank here, but he is covering any potential for a bit of wraparound from Soulkey by keeping that scouting information up there with these Dragoons that we saw just then on screen. Has to pull back now and go more on the defensive with this 4th base coming up online. He's trying to defend by attacking right now, but that opens up Soulkey to come out onto the center of the board to maybe cut off the path of retreat from this army.
That's a lot of lurkers moving forward. They're quite stacked up right now. They're not quite in firing range of this army moving forward, but they're gonna come and close on that army now, getting right up in the face here of Snow, right on top of these Templars as well. The storms come down and they're pretty darn good, but the Dragoons are getting completely cut off. So many of them are falling here, and Soulkey is closing the noose.
Yeah, this doesn't look so good for Snow. He's not technically eliminated yet, but this looks pretty bad for him. Soulkey also driving a wedge between this natural third and the rally point of Snow with this Hydra Lurker. He hasn't yet broken into that position, actually got a kill on one of these bases, but with the rallied units streaming across the map, he's definitely looking to do that. Some 2 tactical Dark Templars making good use of those Warp Blades to cut through the Lurkers that were containing it. But here comes Soulkey with more reinforcements, ready to set up another contain and drive a wedge between those 2 locations and prevent Snow from defending this 4th base location. I don't know if Snow's going to have enough to break out here. He's going to try and make a good attempt at it, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think. He's got some units out on the map cutting off the path of reinforcements for Soulkey. He's going to try and get into that 4th base location to see if he can get a snipe on that. Snow has a few Dragoons there to reinforce, but Soulkey's doing a good job of busting into the natural and cutting off a lot of these critical units from getting out and defending this. The macro engine of Soulkey is just slightly better in this situation with that 4th base already being saturated. So Soulkey probably is going to be tying up this series here. He just has to execute.
Yeah, he's bringing forward so many Hydras. You can see him just spilling across the map with these rally points being set directly in the face of Protoss. Snow is going to have to tap out. We're going to go to a final game, guys. Game number 7. This has gone all the way. Incredible play displayed there by Soulkey. He is so close to being taken out, but he pulls back from the brink, and now we're here in an all tied up series.
Sigh of relief from the champion. Definitely not happy with how this season has gone, and Snow's still coughing regularly. Can we get this guy a drink? Like, seriously.
Your concern for Snow warms my heart, Xun. This guy, I mean, he has just been playing absolutely out of his mind, but it seems like he's not capable of standing up to the late game potential of Soulkey. Despite getting 4 bases online quickly, Soulkey just absolute god mode. Look at this play from Soulkey, bringing all the lurkers forward here and cutting off this army on the way back home. He wasn't able to get that unified front that he usually does with all of his Dragoons in the back, the Templars in the mix with the Zealots, sitting at the front and just tanking that damage. And so Soulkey gets in there, he snipes down those Templar, and he just takes complete control of this game.
Yeah, absolute masterclass in Zerg versus Protoss here. To be fair, though, more or less from both players, Snow has showed absolute stellar stuff here today. He just has to not tilt out in this final game. Soulkey's got a lot of his momentum back. He's on match point now himself with this last decider match. Please hold it down, though, Snow. I don't necessarily care who wins at this point. I just want to see a really crazy final game, and it is going to be Radiant, guys. A nice, crazy macro map to set it all in motion. Who's going to be making it through to the finals to join best?
All right, guys, before we come back for this final game, a final plug for the live stream, SCTV EN on Soup Live. Come check us out. The finals is going to be on the 25th at 2 p.m. Get over here and follow. At the very least, we've got the Soup Duel Series here as well, and that ASL jersey giveaway is live until the 25th, the end of that stream, the final stream. You can enter to win simply by donating to us and to Soup. They're going to be taking a percentage as well, of course, as all platforms do. You'll be supporting us, your casters, your English casters, and the Soup streaming platform, the guys who put this ASL thing together. And by doing so, you will enter yourself 50 gems per entry or 1 gifted sub per entry. And you guys can enter as many times as you want. More entries means more chances to win, guys. So
like the
definitely
Hunger
come support
Games.
us.
Yeah, as long as you got more names in the bowl, you're more likely to get picked. So dig deep into your wallet if you can, guys. No worries either way, though. We just love you being here to support us in the chat, in the comments below. We love StarCraft just as much as you guys, maybe a little bit more, because we're happy to sacrifice our time to bring you these great games and really pour our heart and soul into every cast. I barely blink while casting these matches. We're going to be going into Decider map, though. Radiant, game number 7. I'm so stoked it's gone the distance. Snow could be winning the whole championship if he's able to defeat Soulkey here. His Protoss versus Protoss is monstrous. But after today, I also really like best chances against Soulkey in the finals if somehow he's unable to do it here.
You can see that Snow is trying to hold it back, man. He's trying to hold it in right now. Really does feel like Soulkey has a bit of confidence after that last game. Is looking more locked in here. Snow, he knows he's got one last chance to break that cycle of losses against Soulkey in the ASL. This is the last game of the series, guys. It's going to be on Radion. A massive map, plenty of opportunities for big surrounds from the Zerg army. This is going to be very difficult for Snow to take on Soulkey in a long late game. Here we go, guys.
ASL Season 19, Round of 4. We're on match point, game number 7. Snow versus Soulkey. Get hyped, guys. It's on Radion. Here we go.
Snow, bottom left. Soulkey, top right. What is going through these two guys' minds? What is their thought process going into this final game? We've got Soulkey, who's shown so many aggressive builds, so many busts that just haven't worked out. And some incredible macro late game that has been able to take down Snow. What will he be relying on now? Is he going to fall back into that extremely defensive style that he's so well known for? Will Snow be able to break that open?
Yeah, there's a guy in the crowd there saying that Snow is the crazy Protoss. He's definitely more of the finesse Protosses here, you know, technically relying more on gimmicks than the average Protoss does, but he is so good at it. His control in general is just out of this world. Someone like Best, a much more fundamental player, might be able to use those tricks he's got up his sleeve to get rid of Soulkey in this final match. We'll have to wait and see. It's not scouted Soulkey just yet, but that probe will eventually make its way over his Soulkey, though. Going to be taking a 12 hatch on his natural third to block the potential of a cannon rush from disrupting him.
Going directly over to that third base. 12 hatchery out of him. Snow not going to spot that hatchery just yet. He will go into this main base and find out that indeed there must be a hatchery somewhere around here. Will be taking his Nexus soon. Well, we've seen this before from Soulkey. Is he going to take that quick gas again after the fact? That's what I'm curious about. This is a very interesting build from him.
Yeah, he did mind game a little bit, making it seem like he was going to go for like a 2-hatch lair really fast into that Spire tech, but didn't, and ended up going for a more standard style instead, you know, belatedly getting that Ling speed upgrade. Have to see what he wants to go for here today. It seems though so far Snow's actually going to do a really strange cannon rush over at this third base and force a very long pull from drones from the main base. Takes a long time to get over here, but with 2 or 3 drones hitting these cannons as they go up, there's not much hope of making this work. Snow is actually sending out so many of his own probes up here to try and make this work. This is crazy. This is like when you do a proxy gate and they pull SCVs to kill it, and suddenly you've got 1 or 2 more probes arriving to make it so there's not enough DPS to make it work. Can Snow do it here today? It's going to be really tough. I don't think these cannons are going to make it. One of them goes down. He's going to get a surround on this other as well, but he's made so many drones be pulled off the line. This is absolutely insane from Snow. I don't know what I'm watching right now. This is absolutely crazy saying. I don't think this cannon rush is going to be successful though, but he has an expansion behind this. He isn't technically all in. This is just to really devastate the economy of Soulkey and make him make a slight miscalculation in how much he commits to that defense. But a lot of probes were pulled from Snow as well during all this. What an unorthodox start to this final match.
I think that Soulkey got exactly what he wanted there. He forced... he just handled that so damn well. It really seemed like he knows exactly what to do in that situation. The cannon is kind of late. These Lings are going to make their way up here. It will finish just as the Lings make it up, so I guess... basically just right on time here, he will be able to hold this off. But you know, it was a long pull from Soulkey. He got the good surround there, getting on top of those probes right away, making sure that he could get good surface area on that was absolutely the right call. And then the drones could easily go to work at that third base, so it wasn't that much of a loss. Now Lings come forward, they try to poke at these probes. He is going to be able to deal with that. Aha, losing a probe right there is pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
He's
just everything right now.
He's going to have a big lead here, I think, Soulkey, after everything's said and done.
No, I think you're right, saying he is ever so slightly ahead in this game. Probably like a 6-4, 6.5 to 3.5 favorite, somewhere around that region. And he has the opportunity of throwing down 9-7-3 play here as well. We got this scouting probe in the main base trying to identify that. Soulkey's actually mining gas from his natural third right now. Due to that huge drone pull, it was more optimal to take the gas over at that base instead.
Yeah, he had a few too many probes at that, or a few too many drones at that base anyway, so just grabbing the gas there, it makes a whole lot of sense. Just smooth out the economy, be as efficient as possible. Everything just handled so perfectly from Soulkey there, really. From start to finish, the moment he saw that, he pulled exactly the right number of drones, and now he's got this gas going. He's got his Hydroden over here at the third. He's looking primed to come down here and start to put on a bunch of pressure. This is going to be really dangerous from Snow, and behind it, I think that Soulkey can easily get into a macro game as well.
Right, and there'll be slightly less minerals available to Snow to just throw down crazy amounts of cannons. He might be even hesitant to do hedge your bet cannons and cancel them at 99 with just how slightly behind the curve he is. Has got a Zealot that's going to be making his way into the natural expansion. That might be just the ticket he needs to equalize things. He's got 2 Zealots on the southern hemisphere that's currently baiting out those Zerglings and dealing with that. So this other Zealot now coming into natural gets 1 drone kill. That's pretty big. Only 1 hatch of Lings coming out from those eggs. So 2 and 1 won't be enough to stop this Zealot coming into the main base and being annoying there as well. Snow can get 1 or 2 drone kills and deny some mining time. This could be a big deal.
Yeah, this is pretty sweet from Snow, getting so much information here. He's missed out on the gas, and the Hydroden is not being scouted just yet, but gets a second drone. Ooh. Unbelievable. Crazy that he was able to get impressive. 2 drones here.
Yeah, that's slightly equalized the state of the game. I mean, technically, this is still Soulkey favored, especially in terms of information warfare. He hasn't spotted this Hydra Den at the third base or any of the Hydras that were produced. But with that Zealot going into the main base means that Soulkey couldn't optimize how many Hydras he was able to produce. So it was mostly Zerglings out of those eggs and Hydras being made at the third. So there will not be a crazy timing for Soulkey to work with. He might still get the Gateway and Forge in the wall. But with this Corsair now confirming everything, it's going to be much more difficult for Soulkey to catch Snow with his pants down. He will be able to hold the line and force Soulkey into a transition.
Yeah, for sure. There's going to be a transition coming here. Snow has scouted it. He was hoping to just kill that Forge, make sure that he couldn't get a upgrade rolling. Snow will probably just replace the double Forge in the main base, not even invest into that, knowing that it's going to be killed. Does have the 4 cannons back at home here and won't overcommit to cannons this game. Does need to keep an eye on what Soulkey is producing, though. You don't want to allow, you know, a round of Hydras to sneak out and get across this map. He could actually still break you pre-storm timing. He sees some more Hydras coming up, so he gets some more cannons on the way. It's a fine line he's walking right now, but it seems like he's got just enough to hold on. 5 Zealots here at the front are going to do a good job body blocking, and these 2 cannons in the back are about to finish up here shortly.
Now, if it wasn't for the fact that he went for that unorthodox start with that cannon rush at the third, he would have had a +1 timing already finished, but because of that early investment, he actually won't be able to get that upgrade, and Soulkey does prevent that from being a reality. So now, you know, just 0-0-0 on these Zealots for quite some time. Forge being remade in the main base to try and catch up on those upgrades while he throws down his gateways. Now, the ebb and flow of the game has been disrupted slightly. It's kind of like going for 8 racks where everything's been pushed back by about a minute or so. In this case, even a tiny bit longer than that. We'll be finally getting everything online with that double Forge in the main base to catch up on things, but this is still favoring Soulkey ever so slightly.
Soulkey got those hatches out really quickly, guys. He is going to get into this macro engine very smoothly. Has a lot of drones popping, and there's that quick 4th base as well here at 9 minutes. That's a pretty smooth transition if I've ever seen one. Look at this mineral saturation on the natural. The main's looking pretty healthy as well, and the third, he's got his 3rd gas rolling here as well, has those upgrades pumping. Everything is rolling here for Soulkey, and Snow's going to be stuck in his base for a little bit longer as he gets these gateways online. He will have a timing to come out here with this 1-1 finishing, but Soulkey is going to have so much stuff, and what we've seen from him so far leads me to believe that he is definitely at an advantage just getting into this late game in general.
Absolutely. So I don't know the exact advantage he's got, but it is somewhere around like 6-4, 7-3. It's pretty big, and in a game at this level, it does really make the difference. It comes down to razor thin percentiles usually. Who's going to be getting out on top? Look at this manual body blocking here from Soulkey, trying to lock down this DT so the slow boating Overlord can get over there, but it actually does allow some swipes from that DT to get some value. He will eventually clean up that Dark Templar with the Overlord speed finishing up, but now maybe Snow can use that tiny tempo getting out onto the map with these speed Zealots, see if he can get up to the 12 o'clock, maybe get a cancel or kill rather on that hatchery that's just coming online as a 4th.
Oh, he's not going to go for it directly. He's instead going to try and catch these Hydras that are running back home. He actually gets a couple of drones here as well. Seems like the Hydras have maneuvered their way out of this sticky situation. In the end, they will be able to retreat to a safe location. Some mutas are popping out right now. It seems like Soulkey wants to take possession of air dominance in this game for the time being. Try to force Snow back, force him into taking a 3rd base and not attacking him, and then he can transition into a hive play. I doubt that he'll just stay on this layer tech and try to body him off of a 3rd base. I don't think that's the plan here for Soulkey, but let's see. Let's watch and find out if he actually wants to try for that.
Yeah, this is a pretty strong air fleet for Soulkey to work with. Not that many Corsairs are currently mustered in this fleet of Snow. has got a big round of Dragoons that are just starting to pop out now. Needs to go all the way up to like 2 control groups of those Dragoons to have enough force to screen the attempts of Soulkey from coming in here. And also bodyguarding these High Templars. Zealots are just not sufficient in protecting the High Templars from Hydras in most cases. And certainly against Mutalisks, you need some kind of active threat to prevent them from just sharking around for free and picking those off. It does still require preemptive storms and good positioning for those Dragoons to be effective enough to prevent those snipes from coming in. He's also got the Corsairs straggling behind, making sure that flank is covered. Soulkey's really trying to find an angle to come in here and snipe some of these critical units. If Snow does a good enough job of protecting those and get some reinforcements over there while taking this third as an insurance policy, there's still a little bit of glimmer of hope for our Protoss player, but it's not going to be easy.
Bringing up another rally of forces here to the front. Soulkey hasn't been able to find anything just yet. There's a great storm, an excellent preemptive storm there. Another one actually hitting this. He's clearing out all of those mutas, and he will be able to back off here. He did lose some of the Templar, and most of the storm energy is gone, but that was an excellent cleanup.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good. One of the better scenarios that Snow could have hoped for. Only losing like 2 or so Templars and kills the entire pack of Mutalisks. So if Soulkey wants to recommit into that Mutalisk force, he might not have enough round of Lurkers to hold the line when all's said and done. Going Hydra Muta is a little bit risky. You really do have to execute well to make that composition pay off. And so far, so good for Snow. He has a tiny window to maybe lean on Soulkey. Without observers here, though, it's very difficult to break through these Lurker lines that are trading all the way to this 4th base location at the 12 o'clock, but it's easy to drive a wedge between the rally point of the Zerg and that 4th base and force Soulkey to come to him and get massive blankets of Sonic Storm on those packs of Hydras. Soulkey, though, doing a great job of not committing too many of his forces in holding that line and just throwing a few Hydras in at a time and keeping the bulk of his army back from being stormed into oblivion.
We could see another transition back into Mutalisk now. A lot of those Corsairs were just killed. Soulkey definitely has that as an option, dude. That's so many forces moving forward here. How are the storms? Some of the storms going down on that left-hand side, but he's kind of missing out on a few of those. Riding forward here with those Hydras, jumping on top and sniping down a lot of these Templar. So many go down before they get the good storms off, and he will be forced back. This has gone suddenly very Soulkey favored. My goodness, what a trade there for Soulkey.
Soulkey just makes it look easy, man. He is so good at what he does. He picked off so many of those High Templars. I'm kind of impressed by Soulkey. He's kept it locked down this series. He was very tilted and disrupted in those previous games, but now he's really locked in and executing as he needs to, taking out those High Templar units in the nick of time, opening up the possibility of coming into the rally point of Snow, splitting up some Hydras to see if he can get a tactical snipe on that Nexus while Snow's distracted holding the line. There's only 3 or 4 cannons up here in this natural third. Pro's being pulled off the line to screen against that Hydra contingency. Has a few Zealots and Dragoons coming up to reinforce that, but he's struggling to hold 2 fronts right now. The cannons have been knocked out just barely by Soulkey. He will do a cleanup on those Hydras and bully them back away, but that means his rally point's even more exposed. These High Templars might be sniped as well.
If these High Templars go down, there's not a hope for Snow. One falls, the second one about to go down as well. It's just barely not got enough energy. Robe transfer making its way over here, but there's almost nothing left for Snow. He's going to be losing the last couple of Templars at this rally point. Lurkers are making their way into the natural. Soulkey is bringing it home here in game number 7. There it is, guys. He takes it home.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Soulkey is absolutely next level.
What an insane series. I'm so glad it went the distance. Soulkey is going to be our second finalist to face off against the absolute ape that is best. Snow came so close, so far. But in the end, it doesn't really matter because the champion is going to strut over to that camera, sign his name, and try and cement his legacy as a bonjour against best that's going to be coming up soon in the finals. Although I have to say, guys, with this series going as close as it has, I really do feel like Best is going to have a really strong chance at knocking him out too. And he's got a lot of material to digest and analyze and figure out exactly what it is he needs to do to take down the reigning champion.
Damn, man. We're going to get a replay of this fight. It was looking pretty good initially. Snow pushing everything back. He kind of fell into this big surround that Soulkey had set up, right? He pushes everything back into the natural, does end up losing quite a bit of his zealots, and he thought, you know what? I'm going to back up, reinforce after this attack. And as he was backing up here to get that reinforcement train going, Soulkey brings everything together to get that surround. He absolutely annihilates this army, gets rid of all the Templar, and that's all she wrote. This is so well done by Soulkey. It's so hard to do. Yeah. It's kind of mind-boggling, actually, to try and explain how hard something like this is to pull off. The way that he's maneuvering his army, he's dodging those storms. Not able to get the storms that he needed. Snow backing off as far as he could, but he absolutely loses the epitome of his army. All of the important tech units are taken down, and that's just about it for Snow. He falls back, but with nothing left. Soulkey just going to take it all home.
It's masterfully tactical here from Soulkey to win in this fashion. It's so difficult to keep the bulk of your Hydra forces safe while also preemptively setting up contingencies and flanks to isolate the path of retreat and take out those critical tech units off those High Templars. It was a nice effort here from Snow to body block with some probes and buy some precious seconds before this Nexus would be targeted down. There's just not enough left remaining for him, and unfortunately, Aya was always destined to be destroyed. We're going now to the center stage as our current reigning champion gives a few words. It definitely wasn't an easy fight for him. He definitely had to dig deep and keep his own nerves under control. That was probably one of the most flimsy performances we've seen of our champion, and that's going to be a lot of material, like we were just talking about, for Best to digest and figure out exactly what he needs to do to make it happen in honor of Snow.
Yeah, Best is going to be taking notes here. He's going to be looking through all those games. You know, I think that Best has the opposite weakness to Snow. All of those crazy aggressive plays that Soulkey pulled out in the earlier parts of this series, Best is going to be a little bit weaker to those, and maybe they'll end up working, whereas the late game plays, Best definitely stronger at putting together those mechanics, at handling those huge armies and macroing out on all cylinders. There he is. He's in the crowd right now. He's been watching.
He's chuckling a little bit when the camera pans to him.
I wonder who he was cheering for today, Xun. I mean,
I actually think he wanted Soulkey to win, you know. I'll tell you why. Because his Protoss versus Protoss is not so great. I think Snow is actually taking him down in a Protoss versus Protoss series, but he can definitely deal with Soulkey. His Protoss versus Zerg has come a long way, and fundamentally, he is the superior player to Snow in terms of his raw macro capability. So I do favor him being able to take out Soulkey, and he's seen all of Soulkey's tricks. Soulkey had to pull out all of the aces from his sleeve to take down Snow in this series. It was not an easy feat. Look how exhausted he is. He's struggling to speak right now, Saiyan.
Oh, for sure, Xun. He left nothing in the pocket during this series. He absolutely brought out his best, and so Best got a great insight into what Soulkey does in a best-of-7 series on this map pool versus Protoss. He's going to be going to the drawing board here for the next week and a bit, guys. We're not going to be back until Sunday, the 25th. That's going to be 2 p.m. Korean Standard Time for that ASL Finals. We'll see what Best cooks up. Will he be able to put on as good of a series as what we just saw against Snow, or is Soulkey going to become the reigning champion once again.
Yeah.
Continue
wanna
on
see it,
his
Sam.
streak. 4-time champion, dude. That's
I can't.
wild.
Yeah, no matter what happens, I'm going to be stoked. We've either got a 4P bonjour of a Zerg that will be ushered in, or we're going to be having the most craziest shenanigans in the ape himself, Best, taking down Soulkey in the finals. I really do want that to occur just a little bit more. I so want Best to win in that finals, and I think he has a very strong chance in doing so, way more than 30%. I think it's coming close to being a coin flip scenario, somewhere between 40 and 45% chance here for Best in that finals match. I'm super stoked for him going forward, guys. I've been Xun, with me Saiyan SC. Please go over to souplife.com/SCTVN, throw us a follow, come check us out live in that finals that's going to be coming up. Get a chance at winning one of those ASL jackets. It's going to be 50 gems per entry, or a gifted sub per entry, on winning one of those 2 available. It's been such a great honor to bring you these games, and I would like to take this opportunity to give one big final shout out to Nyokin, because without him, we would not be here today. He was the guy that recommended me initially to take on this role, and after analyzing what Saiyan and I do over at KCM, StarCastTV gave us the honor of bringing you these great casts for this entire season and maybe many years to come. So thank you so much, Nyokin. Thank you so much, guys, in the chat. We really do love all of you.
Guys, don't forget, mark your calendars. Yes, follow this channel, 2 p.m. Korean Standard Time, the 25th of May. We cannot wait for that finals. It's going to be such a blast. Cannot wait to see what Best brings out. See you guys next Sunday.